Yeah. Last 24, lay it out on the table. True crime experts peeling back every angle. Looking for answers, real exact. Pin the timeline, track by track. Bronx telling tales, she keeps us in line. Every little detail, every tiny sign. They break it all down at Dago's Cafe. Coffee on the counter, new case, same day. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, no spin. Bringing you the facts so raw, let the evidence speak again. Exposing all the secrets, looking for the lies in the cracks. They throw revelations at your feet till the gavel comes down on the facts. Hey! Typically unique, but the method is clean. Red string on the board, map out every scene. Replay the last call, rewind the last text. If it don't add up, they on to what's next. Side eyes, alibis, tear them apart. Trail through the dark with a flashlight heart. Bronx on the story, keeping pace on the track. Every minute, every motive, never holding it back. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, no spin. Bringing you the facts so raw, let the evidence speak again. Exposing all the secrets, looking for the lies in the cracks. They throw revelations at your feet till the gavel comes down on the facts. Week after week, you know the sea's still warm. Cold case heat brewing up in the storm. From the Bronx to the booth, they connect every clue. When the hammer hits the wood, you know the verdict is you. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, no spin. Bringing you the facts so raw, let the evidence speak again. Exposing all the secrets, looking for the lies in the cracks. They drop the gavel one last time and the truth keeps pulling you back. Yeah.
All right. Welcome.
Hello.
What's happening? Welcome back, guys. Happy Saturday.
Hello.
Hey, long time no talk. Holy shit, what the hell happened to my fucking head? I look like a fucking rooster over here. God.
Get it together.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Everybody
Anyways,
ready for tonight?
Yes,
I'm so
absolutely
excited.
beyond excited. I've been looking forward to this since I found out the day of.
Yeah, buddy.
It's really good that we get to have them on now that we have all this new information too. So we have fresh new questions.
Absolutely.
Yes, we are being joined this evening by our special guest, death investigator, Mr. Jeffrey Gentry. A lot of you guys saw him probably on Birdie's channel, which was the first time I saw him. Amazing. I was excited immediately, when I saw him talking there. He's very, very interesting, very intelligent. Just amazing conversationalist, guys. Lots to learn from him, and I'm beyond excited. When Mike called me and said, hey, I was like, yay, so very excited.
We're going to have a couple more haze coming.
I'm glad. I'm loving it. So welcome to the verdict room, you guys. The verdict room unfiltered is what we are. For those of you that are newer, it's great to have you guys here. Thank you so much. Please make sure to hit the like button coming through the door, and share this out. For those of you that are new, we're being joined, as always. The four of us are always here together. Myself, Bronx Tales, True Crime with Miss Logan, the last 24 with Mike here, and Typically Unique with Miss Kim. Always, week after week, we are here to give our final verdict of the week and the things that we have discussed throughout the week, and then some. And luckily enough, we get lucky to have people such as Mr. Gentry join us from time to time to make it even more interesting for you guys. And tonight is definitely going to be an educational situation for many, many people that have questions. So, you good, Kim?
I'm sorry. The bird just crashed into the window again.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Get out the construction paper. Holy
What
shit.
is going on with that? Your windows are too clean.
It's a robin. It's a robin. It's done it like 55 times.
What product do you use on your windows? I need some.
They're not clean, you guys. Like, I don't do
little does he know, he's robbing his freaking time of his life.
Is it the same bird?
It's the same bird.
He's addicted, Joey.
That's wild. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us, guys. Again, please make sure to hit the like button and share this out and let everybody know what we're doing tonight. Again, we are being joined by Mr. Jeffrey Gentry, death expert, crime scene, all that fun stuff. He has all sorts of information to be able to share with us. That being said, I think we should bring him up and quit delaying. So here we go. Welcome, sir. How are you tonight?
Everybody, thank you for inviting me. I'm flattered that you guys would include me in your show. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for giving us your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, very much.
I'm happy to do it.
Wonderful to have you here. I hope you're having a great day. And again, like we said, it's wonderful that you can take time out of your busy life. I'm sure it's busy to be able to come in and join us here tonight to have these discussions.
And he's 3 hours behind us, too. So,
it's
in challenges.
Don't hold it against me that I live in California, guys.
Oh, God. I quit.
From Northeast Ohio, little jealous over here. Yeah.
Same here.
You have the worst. What you say about the bird, too. I've got birds nesting outside of my window, and so one almost hit the window, too. So I know what you're going through.
He won't learn. He won't learn.
How many times has this happened now, Kim?
Oh my gosh, a ton live and then many more off camera. Yes.
Well,
wild.
Sounds like it's time to hang a camera out there and make money off of it, huh?
Yeah.
Make funny bird videos.
There you go.
You should video it. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Right. So, Jeff, again, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself better because you have more knowledge of what and who you are with that aspect. So please, if you will.
Okay, be prepared. I do a lot of different things.
No worries.
So by day, I'm a death investigator. That's my normal day job. I've been doing that for about 20 years now. So I work as a deputy coroner death investigator. So that's just going out to crime scenes, investigating deaths, figuring out the cause and manner of death, and exploring crime scenes, and really just explaining to people why someone died, collecting evidence on the body. So there is a lot that goes into that job. But I also do teaching. So I teach in person and online courses. I have a website. It's called evidenceoverassumption.com. And I'm sure we can share the link for that. Yeah. But on my website, I've got my online training courses. I have books that are available for sale. So I think I have about 5 or 6 educational books that go along with my courses for sale. But then I also have a couple of cartoon books. So for example, I created a cartoon book that I illustrated that's about death investigation. And it explains to everybody in kind of a simplified way what a death investigator does. And then I also have another book that's just kind of fun. It's called Jeffrey Finds a Dead Body. It's supposed to be me as a kid finding a dead body in the woods and then bringing it back to my house. I have not done that yet, just so you know. I have brought body parts for examination, but not like actually a whole body.
A whole body, right.
So.
Oh my goodness.
Got you.
I
love it.
I'm going to share that with my fellow educators because they will often do like CSI type things, especially with science.
And I've done everything you can imagine related to death investigation, teaching wise. So I've taught everything from elementary school kids to put on demonstrations and mock crime scenes for high school kids. I've taught forensic science and math at college level. And then I now educate law enforcement and crime scene investigators. Then I also can consult on cases. So I can do crime scene consultation, analysis of cases. I can testify in court as an expert witness. So in addition to being a registered death investigator, I am somewhat unique in the fact that I am certified as a bloodstain pattern analyst. I'm one of 60 or so in the world that are certified as a bloodstain pattern analyst, but then I'm also certified as a senior crime scene analyst. So a lot of what I like to do and what I like to do on these podcasts, like you're inviting me to do, is go over evidence, explain to people what it's really like to actually work these cases. I mean, it's easy to, from the outside, look at it and scrutinize either law enforcement work or cases. And in a lot of cases, there are things that are done wrong, and we can point that out. But I also like to point out just how difficult it is to actually investigate these type of cases, especially ones where you have 4 dead bodies at a scene and a lot of media presence, a college campus. It can get very complicated. And not only are you dealing with the crime scene itself, but then you're dealing with all the outside influences, the media, political pressure. So there's a lot that goes into actually investigating a case, and it's almost never easy. So
I can imagine.
I really enjoy educating and explaining to people what it's really like to investigate these cases. But then I also like to, from a forensic standpoint, tell you what the evidence can show. What do the blood patterns tell you? What does the evidence tell you? What are the procedures that go into collecting evidence and processing evidence? And I love viewer questions. So whatever you guys want to throw at me, I'm up for it.
So the political pressure, that's very interesting. Political pressure as in, how do I want to put this?
I know where you're going.
Yeah. Come on. Help me out here. So what, I guess when you say that, what would be your meaning behind political pressure?
Well, think about high profile cases. Not only are you dealing with actually trying to figure out what happened, but then you have people asking questions. You have, for example, podcasters that are getting involved, or people online getting involved and asking a lot of questions. So you have not only just the case that you're working, but then you have a lot of people asking questions. You have, round the clock news media coverage. You have families that are involved that want answers. You have, in this case, a college campus and a lot that's going on. So, you got to think about, is there still somebody on the loose that's going to cause harm to other college students, or is it more of an isolated incident? So there is a lot of pressure, especially for the detectives, the department itself. I myself don't feel that pressure just because I'm an analyst. I go in there, I document, I collect, I analyze. But like the detectives, the sheriff, whoever's involved, or the police chief, they're getting a lot of outside pressure. And so they have to solve these cases. And a lot of times it's not easy. And so I can only imagine what it's like, especially in big cases where you got a lot of people asking a lot of questions.
Can I piggyback on that real quick? I had a question kind of tied to that.
Go ahead and talk, Kim, and I'm going to throw this link up here. It's I posted it so everybody can see it too. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I posted your link to your site that in my chat. So good.
Perfect.
Thinking about that pressure. So if you're in the like medical examiner, coroner world, trying to figure out like the exact cause of death, things like that. And maybe, first, how much do you have to rely on the detectives to also supplement what you're seeing in that lab? And then what happens if you were to disagree? Thinking of that like pressure, like if you disagreed, or the people in that office maybe have a different determination than maybe what law enforcement might be thinking happened in the crime.
So it is definitely a coordinated effort. So whenever you're talking about like death investigations specifically, there is the death component where the coroner or medical examiner, and the coroner is just an elected official, not necessarily a doctor. It can be like a sheriff or an elected official that runs a coroner's office. And then you have the medical examiners, the doctors that come in and do the exams. And then you have death investigators like myself that do the investigations. So that would be the coroner's office. A medical examiner, it's exactly the same thing, very similar setup. It's just that is going to be a doctor that oversees that office, but the work is the same. And coroner and medical examiner work, it is independent of the law enforcement investigation. Although you may work for a law enforcement agency, the coroner or medical examiner's investigation should be independent from the law enforcement investigation. Should be.
Do they have anybody that they that's above them that would check their work or scrutinize their work, or are they like independent like that?
Like an oversight for coroners or medical examiners. The district attorney to an extent, and then just the general public. But there's not really a ton of oversight for those agencies. So whenever the coroner or medical examiner puts out a cause or manner of death, there's not really an investigative branch that oversees those agencies and will say, you need to take another look at this, or you need to add more to this. That's kind of the final say. And it is independent of the law enforcement investigation. 99% of the time, the law enforcement investigation and the coroner or medical examiner investigation, it's done in a coordinated way. and you're going to come up with the same conclusions. But in some cases, you may not. And that's something where you might have to then sit down as a group and figure out why you're not coming to the same conclusions, and then take a better look. But it can cause conflict for sure.
Interesting. Real quick, I want to throw out there, Birdie's in the house. Thank you, Birdie, for joining us. And I was going to bring this up. I'm glad Birdie said this because I'm very interested. Real quick, off subject, real fast, Jeffrey. Birdie said he needs to order his action figure. I remember hearing that. I collect action figures. I have a huge, massive collection of G.I. Joe action figures. So I want one. I do want one. So
all right, I'll show you what I make, and I'll send you one, and I'll sign it. But
look at that, Joey. You just made out, bud. You didn't even have to click the QR code.
I am super excited. Anyway,
I custom make action figures, and I've started from scratch. I designed the action figures.
They're pretty on point.
I make all
even
the
down to the packaging.
Even down to the packaging. And
I'm telling you,
amazing.
I know I've got a lot of energy. I can't help it. I'm sure I drive my fiance crazy.
But at least you're spending it all in a good way, though. I mean, you gotta say that. I mean, 100%. And it's appreciated, the things you do too, for sure. So,
yeah, thank you. And I love doing this stuff. And the action figures. So there's 6 different ones. They're all on the website. I sell them as a set of 6.
Okay.
But, they're pretty fun. They're definitely unique. They're death and crime scene themed action figures.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I'm down for it for sure.
What do you make them out of? What material?
Actually, my fiance Amber just brought me a couple of them. I'll hold them up and show you.
Thank you.
So this one is the Coroner investigation maggot activity. It comes with a partially decomposed body and some maggots.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh my gosh.
This one's the homicide investigation. So it's like a little separate body part with a weapon.
See, wow. Packaging. He could have just thrown that into a Ziploc bag.
That is really cool packaging.
With a business card said thank you.
This one's pretty fun too. The body in a dumpster.
Oh my gosh.
So it comes wrapped in plastic with the
amazing.
And those are all on the website, and I've had pretty good feedback. I've sold quite a few of them, and they do take a little while. They do take a little while to make, so they do cost a bit. But
those will go perfect when I finish setting up my police officer and my firefighter figures that I have. Those will fit right in there with that. I'm down. I love it.
Beautiful.
Very
Check
awesome.
them out.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And yeah, just sign in one too. It'll be displayed right behind me. They're on the shelf. That'll be up here soon. So thank you.
Everybody's saying they want one.
They're amazing. You can't go wrong with that. I love it. Very cool. So, beyond that, and thanks, Birdie, for popping in, brother. We appreciate you. Next, I guess let's get this thing a moving. Logan, did you have something you were getting ready to start to ask, and then I cut you off? If you did, I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. Go ahead. Do you have a question, or do you want me to start?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So my very first question, we're going to get right into the Idaho 4 case. My very first question is, now that you've looked at everything, we do have some new information that popped up this week. If you were to be called to that scene, open the door and walk in, what's the first thing you're doing?
Don't touch anything and leave. So once you see that there are 4 dead people, and there's blood evidence, and you don't have a suspect right away, your first thing you want to do is do everything possible to preserve that evidence. In a case like that, every little fiber, every blood stain, every source of touch DNA is going to be critical. And so you do not want to disturb that scene. So when you have, as an officer, the patrol officers are the first ones on scene. They're the ones that are going to control the scene and protect the evidence. And that's why we do this education, is because there are a lot of new young officers out there. I like educating younger officers and just telling them, like, if you go to a crime scene like this, you don't do anything. You don't touch anything. You don't move anything. You don't move weapons around. You get everybody that's inside the house out, get them as far away as possible, set up your crime scene perimeter, and you don't touch anything. Just leave it. And then go through the process of step-by-step documented evidence, collecting evidence, because you don't want to, when you go to court, have evidence that doesn't make sense, or DNA samples that have mixtures of DNA, or maybe contaminate evidence yourself by walking through the crime scene or touching things. So that would be the first step, is just slow it down, get everybody out, separate everybody, and start isolating your witnesses and start trying to figure it out. What the heck happened?
Great answer. So, okay. we all have seen all of the Amido black in the house. There's specifically a picture in the kitchen. I'm assuming you've seen that one.
Yes.
Can you explain how Amido black works, what we are looking at in that picture in the kitchen, and is that the reagent that you would have picked to use?
Yeah, so Amido black is a reagent. It's a chemical that is used to enhance bloodstains, but it's not specific to blood. It's going to react with proteins. And so things like semen, saliva, other protein sources, they can react to Amido black. So you can't just say that it's 100% specific to bloodstains, but it is used to enhance bloodstains. So it's going to take your either dilute bloodstains or bloodstains that you can't really see. Latent, it's called latent when you can't see it. So it's going to enhance those bloodstains. That way you can actually see it and document it. And the reason they're looking in areas like doorknobs, walls, kitchen, because that's areas that someone's going to touch and might leave trace blood samples. And especially in the kitchen, you're looking for areas of cleanup. And that would be like dilute bloodstains that you're not usually able to see with the naked eye. And so that's why you use the Amido black, is to enhance those stains. And it does make a mess. And so you don't go into a crime scene right away and start spraying this stuff all over the place. It's at the very end, because Amido black, it's going to destroy, any latent fingerprints that don't have proteins in them. It's going to destroy usually DNA evidence. So that's going to be the final step in your crime scene processing, is using that Amido black to possibly enhance bloodstains that you did not see throughout your investigation.
So looking at this photograph, Jeffrey, would you prefer I call you Jeffrey or Jeff, or what's the best for you, sir?
Jeffrey's good. I like Jeffrey.
Okay. So looking at this picture, Jeffrey, like if you didn't know anything as you walked into the situation and you walked up and saw this, what would your take be on this? Like, what would you expect to be understanding from this?
Well, since I do know how it's used and how it's applied at a scene, I would just say that that's just typical of Amido black usage. But if you're just looking at this photograph, not understanding how Amido black works and what a mess it can be, I mean, you're going to think, oh my God, there's blood everywhere, which is not the case. That's not.
And excuse, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to make a point here. This is why we're doing this. Everybody that saw this picture when it first came out said, oh my God, look at all that blood, which is not the case. That is correct, sir.
Right. And so what they were looking for here is fingerprints. So typically you're going to use it to try to enhance latent bloody fingerprints that you're going to be able to get some ridge detail and identify a suspect. If I were going into a scene and I were looking for evidence of cleanup, I'm going to use Blue Star. That's the chemical, the luminol-based chemical that will glow when it interacts with hemoglobin. Now that is specific to bloodstains because it's reacting with the hemoglobin in blood, whereas the Amido black is not specific to bloodstains because it's reacting to proteins. And so there could be other sources that give you a positive result that are not necessarily blood samples. But if I'm looking for evidence of cleanup, I'm going to use the Blue Star. If I'm looking for bloody fingerprints that you can't see with the naked eye, I'm going to use the Amido black.
Is there a way to use one before another so that you could do both?
Yes, possibly. So once you've applied the Blue Star and you identify areas of diluted blood stains, it could potentially affect your Amido black usage, whereas you would not want to use Blue Star after you've applied the Amido black.
So you'd want to use the Blue Star first, identify blood, and then could you use the Amido black to see if there was a fingerprint in that blood?
Possibly. But again, the Blue Star application could affect the possibility of getting good fingerprint detail if there was a bloody fingerprint left at the scene that you can't really see. So you're kind of picking and choosing what your best options are based on what you're looking for.
Okay. I had go ahead.
Go ahead, bud.
Sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to ask the Blue Star. I'm glad you brought that up because we were actually talking about that on another show yesterday. From my understanding, in this case, the Blue Star was used on a jacket that belonged to one of the surviving roommates that was found to be hers, and they doused it with the Blue Star, from my understanding. And now, okay, that's another thing I want to understand is
Yeah.
when there's signs of blood on this, there were signs of blood on this jacket. Okay, so then they doused it with a lot. Is that a problem, Jeffrey, or is that standard procedure?
Yeah. Like if you were, what I was going with this, if you were teaching on this and with these pictures, like what could this have possibly, not destructed, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah. So if we're talking about the blue star specifically, that's going to be able to identify bloodstains that are on dark surfaces that you can't usually see with the naked eye. But it's also going to identify dilute bloodstains. So like during cleanup, you're kind of making a mess when you clean up the crime scene. But that hemoglobin inside the blood does not just go away. It just gets spread all over the place. So you spray a fine mist of the blue star onto a surface. You're not just going to pour it onto the surface. You're going to actually spray it in somewhat of a fine mist. So it's not going to wash away the samples. It's just going to identify and show that the samples exist on that surface. Clothing, it's a little difficult to interpret bloodstain patterns, but you can identify, if they're small individual stains, you could possibly identify that as an impact pattern. And that's what you'd be looking for on the jacket of possibly a suspect or somebody who was near one of these assault scenes.
Interesting.
So there was a jacket in this case found in that extra room downstairs, and
Yeah, that's the one.
were suspecting blood on there, but they put so much Amido black on it that then they said they couldn't do anything with it.
Well, that was
right?
what they sprayed the blue star, the blue star
that's
all
blue
over.
star?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's blue star.
I don't think they had their misting down.
It was so much of it too. That's why I was
It
asking that,
is-
Jeffrey.
It is.
But are you, in your
is a
opinion,
procedure.
does that ruin it from being tested anyway? Like there was no possible way they could have gotten a sample off that for DNA testing or anything like that?
No, blue star is actually it's a unique formula. So previously in the past, investigators used luminol. Luminol, same compound. Essentially, it would actually destroy DNA, where it would potentially contaminate the DNA sample or make it harder to test for DNA.
Okay, got
Blue
you.
star is different. So blue star is a unique formula that you can actually obtain DNA after you have applied it. So you use blue star to identify where the blood stains are, and then you'll either cut pieces of the jacket out for processing or you'll swab it. But you can still get a positive DNA result after blue star application. But you're not giving that item of clothing a bath in the blue star. You're just spraying that fine mist, and it will react with that little blood stains or dilute hemoglobin. So it is very effective at identifying blood stains on dark surfaces or clothing that you normally couldn't see with just the naked eye or normal lighting.
Do we have the photo of that jacket by chance?
Or
if we can get it while we're up, like during the show sometime, then we could.
That's something that I haven't
You need
heard
to see
before.
how much they put on it. Like it was soaked.
It was bad. I think Logan's scanning for it right now.
Yeah, I don't think that it's in this.
It's not in that package, I don't
That-
think. And I
Did
can't
someone
remember.
get it. Someone will
Did
get
they
it.
video it when they were applying it? So you can either videotape when you're applying this stuff, or you can take still photographs. Photographs are good for the blue star because it's a little easier to adjust the low light settings on your camera. So you're trying to absorb all that light that the blue star is giving off when it reacts.
Right. If one of the moderators in the background here has the ability to find the jacket, please, if you can, or anybody, you can email it to us. I didn't even think about that earlier. My apologies, folks. We will get to it. Thank you guys so much for helping when you do. Great stuff so far, Jeffrey. Very much appreciated. Very much. Now, since we're talking, or go ahead, Logan, with the next question you had.
Lucy sent it to your Discord, Kim.
Okay, so officers came into the scene, and on body cam, while one certain officer was in Xana's room, we hear him say, "What's he got?" And come to find out this week, we have heard that Ethan actually had a clump of hair clenched in his fist. Now, it was said to be light blondish or blondish light brown hair, and they labeled it, when they collected it, they labeled it as debris. Is that what hair in a victim's hand is usually labeled?
Normally.
It just depends. So it's going to depend on your agency and how you choose to describe things. It's going to depend on your education and how you describe things in your normal report. So you could say that it appears to be some form of fiber or a possible fiber, or you could say it appears to be possibly hair. Even if I go to a crime scene and unless I've tested it and can identify that it's a blood stain, I'll still say that it appears to be blood, even though I know it's blood. You're taking that approach of caution. So they may have seen it and thought that it looked like hair, but they weren't sure. So they could say it appears to be some kind of debris or an unknown fiber or unknown possible hair sample. So it could just be that that's how they choose to phrase it in their reports. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like dirt or debris from outside. It just means that it's some unknown item of evidence. But it does look like, based on what I've read, that they did pay attention to it. They collected it, they tested it. And then ultimately, I think it ended up not being positive for hair. Isn't that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so here is, thank you, Molly. Here is the jacket.
great.
Oh, wait a minute. Which hair were you just talking about? Sorry, before we go back to this.
The hair in Ethan's hand.
It was human hair.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. It was
absolutely, yeah, it was human hair, and it was 6 to 8 inches long, and it was
dark blonde.
Dark blonde.
And did they ever identify the source of the hair?
They never tested it.
They never tested. The only thing they tested it against, from our understanding, was against Brian Koberger, which did not match to him. Therefore, there's nothing left to it.
There were two pieces there were two criteria that they tested. I forget what they were. Like, I don't know how they worded it.
Well, what they would have done, so that's considered trace evidence. Hair is going to be some form of trace evidence, and trace evidence can be anything. It can be, any item of evidence that's transferred from one source to another. But usually they'll start off with a visual exam. And does it appear to be visually similar to someone's hair, or does it appear to be visually inconsistent with someone's hair? So they're comparing these hairs side by side. So they must have had a sample of Koberger's hair and compared these hair samples side by side. They can do it microscopically as well, but initially it's a visual exam. And then,
have you seen the photograph in the bedroom of the hair that was on the floor with the pooling of the blood?
I have not seen the hair.
So it appears it was probably like a clump, like hair was clenched in the victim's hand. Okay. So more than to me, they called it debris in their reports.
Yeah, and I mean, if you truly believe it's hair, I think I would phrase it as a possible hair sample or trace evidence. I don't know that I would call it debris, but again, it could just be their terminology in their reports. I mean, does that, looking through their reports, did they describe anything else in that scene as debris?
Other hair
samples? Yeah. Okay, so that's just their terminology that they use throughout the report, versus saying that, because you don't want to call it as hair, and then when you go to court have to explain why you called it hair, but it's not hair.
Right.
I mean, to me, reading about it seemed like it was pretty obvious that it probably got yanked out of somebody's head. But
and considering
they said the root was on it.
And now the root is the possible source of DNA. So if you do have a possible hair sample, first you're going to analyze it visually, microscopically, but then your next stage is then sending it off to the lab and getting DNA testing if possible. So those are going to be your different levels of examination for trace evidence or hair specifically. But a lot of times in stabbing cases and knife wound cases where the person does have head and facial injuries, it is not uncommon for chunks of hair to come off the person's head. I've been to quite a few crime scenes where the person has been violently stabbed or assaulted and they have head injuries, and you see exactly that. You see clumps of hair throughout the scene.
One quick second, everybody. I just need to
Trigger warning. This video includes sensitive and violent content that may not be suitable for all viewers. This video is for 18+ only.
So
Okay.
just to give you a little bit more context about that, the victim that had the hair was a male with shorter hair. His hair was nowhere near 6 to 8 inches long. His girlfriend was also in the room as a victim. Her hair was dark, long, like black, almost dark brown, black
Dark
hair.
brown, yeah.
Um,
And that this was where the information we're talking about came from a book recently. The book you're talking about,
Right.
we talked about earlier, Broken Plea, written by a former FBI agent by the name of Christopher Whitcomb. We all know that now. And this is the first thing, I think it's either in the prologue or in chapter 1. This
Yeah.
is pointed out right away.
And he
And he
did say
explains,
this hair did go to the autopsy in that hand with him.
yeah. He explains that Ethan's hand was dangling from the bed. Ethan is the victim that was laying on this bed, that his hand was dangling to right here, basically where my cursor is, and that this portion of it must have fallen out. The rest was still in his hand in kind of like in this manner as he went on to the autopsy, so on and so forth. So that's why I think it was brought up to your attention.
And in their reports, did they conclude that it was not Ethan's hair? Because
No.
my first thought is somebody that's on a bed that's being stabbed, and you have blood that's dripping down the wall next to the bed where their head was at. My first thought is that it is
yes.
possibly his hair. And
I
so
don't know. Sorry.
we don't know that because they won't release that information. Like we haven't
right.
seen. We're
I think the only
relying-
thing that was said is they tested against Brian Koberger.
And it's explained in the book as though it were torn from the perpetrator as in a fight, defensive fight per se. That's how it was explained.
Yeah, and I mean, without seeing the testing results, without seeing if they tested it for DNA, I mean, it would be impossible to say that. So I mean, although we have that thought that maybe he grabbed someone's hair during this altercation, without DNA results, without all the lab results, it's impossible from an analyst perspective, my perspective, to go in and say exactly what happened.
If it's in his hand, does that go to the medical examiner's office like that, or do they take it and bag it as separate evidence to go to the evidence locker?
There's two ways of doing this. So you can collect things on scene, and with trace evidence, it is important to collect those things on scene. So if you see a clump of hair in someone's hand, you would probably want to collect that on scene, because think about a person in a body bag, things moving around, blood still pooling in the body bag while they're in there. That could potentially destroy trace evidence. So if you see trace evidence at a scene, that should be a priority to collect that there at the scene. Some agencies, however, will place bags over the hands to make sure that trace evidence doesn't get lost. And then in a more controlled setting at like an autopsy room or on an autopsy table, you can collect that trace evidence. But then you also think about too, how many bodies have gone through that medical examiner's or coroner's office, and is that really the most appropriate setting to collect trace evidence off a body, considering that there could be the source of contamination? I think I would collect that there at the scene, especially if you see a clump of hair in someone's hand.
Well, let me ask you, Jeffrey, like just for instance, and then we can move on unless somebody else has a question. But why would that, in your opinion, why would that not be tested against everything? Why would that hair not be tested against everything found on the scene or whatever else?
It should be. I mean, if you find an unknown hair sample at a scene like that, especially if it's in someone's hand, it should be tested against everybody's hair that was at that scene, that was in that home, that it should be tested against all the victims. It should be tested against all the suspects, not only visually, but again, you should send it off for DNA testing. Even if you don't think there's a possibility of getting a DNA hit on that, it just raises a lot of questions, and it opens up reasonable doubt if you don't test it. And I think that's the situation we're in right now, right? If they didn't test it for DNA, everybody's question is, why wasn't it tested, and whose DNA is in there?
Right.
We have a lot of those questions.
Yes.
Everything in this case.
Yes. And if we're getting to be too much, you tell us, guys, back off. Give me a break here.
No,
Anytime.
I'm 100% here for this. When I first started looking at this case, I had only seen what was in the news. So I just, automatically assume that Koberger was the suspect. He committed all this on his own.
Absolutely.
I actually didn't even know that there wasn't a trial. I had no idea. I didn't know that he took a plea deal until I started digging into this stuff. So the first podcast that I did with Birdie, I was like, very naive to the case. But now after looking at it more, I completely understand why there's so many people out there asking tons of questions. I understand why there are people writing books about why did he, get a plea deal. That's
yeah.
I mean, and I think about it from the family's perspective. I mean, thinking that he took a plea deal versus getting the death penalty, I think I'd be a little upset.
Amen.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So you can understand why we're super excited and jumping all over you like spider monkeys, right?
Oh, I'm absolutely for it. This is what I like doing, and throw all the weird questions at me. And if it's something I truly cannot answer, I'll tell you. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, this is why everybody there's 460 people alone on this side of my channel watching you right now. Every single person is beyond grateful that you're here, sir. So understand that because of this right here.
I love doing this stuff, and I myself, I mean, I think I told you, I'm all about the evidence. So if the evidence isn't there, I'm not going to generate an opinion on it. But I do like the conspiracy theories. I like people asking questions. I like the public asking questions because that makes not only analysts like myself better, but it makes law enforcement better because they, have to think about these things when they're doing their investigations. Is like, what questions are going to be asked to the public? What questions are going to be asked of my supervisor when I present this case to the DA's office? So you really have to think about that. What type of questions are going to be asked later? And so I do think that you guys are making law enforcement better and police investigations better by doing these kind of things.
Thank you.
And they try to shut us out.
Yeah, at some points they do, but it's understood why. And
I
I'm
have
glad
a
you
yes
said
or no quick question, Dago. Just yes or no. Is it too late to test the hair that was in the hand?
Great question.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, depending on how it was preserved. I mean, if it's kept in good condition and it's in a stable environment, I mean, the only time that you would need to worry about DNA going bad is if you keep it in like a hot environment or you don't preserve it well. But if that evidence is still out there, it could very easily be tested for sure.
Great. Sorry
Hot
about
environment, as in once it goes over a certain temperature, does it go bad?
Anything that's going to potentially destroy the DNA. So like if you say, for example, you put a sample inside a plastic bag that has no ability to breathe, you could get mold that accumulates on the sample, and that would pretty much destroy it. Or if you have it in the back of a hot car and it's just sitting there, I mean, that could potentially destroy the DNA sample to where you don't get a good test result. But if it's kept under normal evidence conditions, it should be able to be tested still.
So I guess in this, you guys can help me out with this one here. So let's rewind to this whole thing where the refrigerator went bad.
Yeah.
And that time of year, the maximum temperature out there would have been what, 50 degrees during the daytime?
Out and the exterior temperature, yeah, probably.
So at that temperature, would such things have gone well if they would have molded in a refrigerator that just shut off, or you would have had condensation, right?
Can I ask something real quick though? Does it matter if the sample is dry versus not dry sample? Does it matter?
Not necessarily. It just depends. So if it's, say, for example, I mean, let's talk about blood evidence. If you have a bloody shirt, you don't want to just throw it into a plastic bag and seal it up because you will get mold and that could potentially destroy your sample. So you're going to air dry it in a controlled setting. And then once it's dry, then you're going to package it to where it can still breathe a little bit and it's not going to mold, but to where there wouldn't be further contamination. So every different type of sample has different storage requirements, but that's just blood specifically. But if you're talking about a hair sample, it shouldn't go bad. I mean, the DNA in the hair sample shouldn't be affected unless it's exposed to like a chemical or like very high heat to where it could denature the proteins and affect the DNA sample.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. There's another question.
Sorry about the laboratory type explanations. My background is in biochemistry and molecular biology, so I'm 100% a nerd. So if you guys need me to explain it in a different way, just let me know.
You're good.
Yeah, no,
Layman,
that's great.
sometimes layman's terms does help for some of us, but I think I got what you're saying. Unless somebody else needs it re-explained another way. I get it.
That's a negative.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Ladies, or Mike, any other questions about the hair or anything before we go back to this again?
Negative.
Yes, actually. So we see this cop, he walks in, he says, what's he got? So now we know that he has this clump of hair in his hands. Let's say this was you walking into the scene and you know he's got this clump of hair. Would that take priority over some other evidence that was at the scene or not?
Not necessarily. I mean, the first step is identifying your evidence. So typically, I mean, was this a detective or was this a patrol officer that came in on body cam and identified that?
A patrol officer.
Okay, so typically the patrol officers are not going to be the people searching for evidence. It's going to be your crime scene technicians and your detectives. So they may observe something, but they're not going to be the ones to ultimately preserve and document that evidence. So their job is to go in and secure the scene, make sure that people don't go in and mess things up. So it's one thing for them to say that it's there and point it out to the detectives in the crime scene, but they're not going to be the ones to actually go over and collect it and process it and document it.
Would it be typical in these situations for a patrol officer to just take out a cell phone and start taking pictures?
Sometimes they do. So sometimes those initial scene photographs before the crime scene unit and detectives and medical examiners and coroners come out, those can actually be very helpful. So whenever patrol can use their body cams or their phones to document the scene without disturbing it and without affecting evidence, that is always helpful. I was working on a case where an officer went in and didn't really see a lot of the blood samples or didn't observe them, but they took some initial photographs, and that became very critical in the court case because it showed that evidence was there at a certain date and a certain time. Whereas if you would just rely only on the detectives in the crime scene unit who went in there a couple days later, you wouldn't know that all of that was there unless patrol had taken a couple of just quick photographs for reference. So that can be very helpful in cases just to kind of point out, what's the condition of the body, what's the condition of the blood, what's the condition of the scene before all that actual processing has occurred, which might be hours later. So that can be very helpful, actually.
Can we go to this jacket real quick now, you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So you can see where they're looking at possible blood stains on there, right? We can see that with our eyes.
And this was not blood?
So I believe it was.
Yeah, there was blood. There was blood found on this, which is the reason why they tested it with the blue star, from my understanding.
But there was a mix-up. So, Dago, there's a document.
I have it. Lucy sent me. I
pull up, and there was a mix. Something happened with the amount of whatever testing they used for the blood. This expert, she was the expert for the state, and she's writing in this document about what she was seeing with that.
So if you go to a scene and you see what looks like visible blood on a jacket, your first step is not going to be applying blue star. You're first going to document the visible blood. You're going to collect it for DNA testing. That way, you're not applying something that's going to disturb this sample that you can visibly see. Next step would then be laying it out and possibly applying the blue star, and then seeing if you can identify additional blood stains on there that you can't visually see. But if you have a jacket that you have visible blood on it, you're going to either cut sections out or you're going to swab it and test it. Your go-to is not going to be applying blue star to the visible blood stains.
But so that's what happened in this case. So Detective Talbot, I'm reading the letter right here, applied blue star to the items, and then there were two items. There was this jacket and a blanket. So he did the blue star first, and it had a positive reaction. It is blood, correct? Positive reaction.
Right.
Okay. So then he would like to have those items submitted to us for testing. And this is going to the forensic lab, right, for testing. And she asked for what kind of testing, and he stated foreign DNA. And she expressed that using Blue Star on these type of items, you know, like what you're saying, that there's an issue, right, that it's going to probably inhibit the testing.
It can. So that's part of the reason there's issues sometimes, because you have a laboratory analyst who does not go to the crime scenes. They're just testing whatever is sent to them. So they're going to be giving their opinions just based off of their laboratory experience, their laboratory knowledge, not necessarily based off of normal crime scene collection procedures. So in cases where there is detectives and crime scene unit collecting samples and sending it off to a lab, there can be disconnect sometimes. There can be issues with procedural issues where they may not be able to test it based off of the way it was collected. So it really helps in these type of cases, especially high profile cases where you have multiple victims, multiple evidence items, to actually have that lab analyst consult on what should be done to that item of clothing or item of evidence before it's sent to the lab. Just that way you don't have these issues where there's issues where, a certain chemical or processing issue occurs and then the lab just can't test it or is not going to get accurate results.
Logan, can you check the private chat there, please?
Oh, sure.
It's very confusing how they wrote up these reports. So when the detective sprayed it and he said it tested positive, okay, so then he's asking the DNA people to test it, and they're like, we might not be able to get a good sample. And then they said that we can examine for blood, but it's likely any stains we test will be negative, and there's no way to determine at this point if there is blood on the item. Also discussed DNA. I said there are studies that say Blue Star has no negative impact on DNA. However, those studies were done with undiluted blood in concentrations known to produce a full DNA profile. Studies with diluted blood are less certain. So I'm looking to see if they ultimately said they just could not do it or if they did it. So that's what I'm looking for.
So normally what you would do, if you have a jacket like that where you can see blood or you think there's blood on it, I would just send the entire jacket to the lab. I wouldn't test it. I would let them do all their presumptive testing. And by presumptive testing, it's a series of steps. You're going to first swab those areas. You're going to cut a little tiny piece out of those areas. You're not going to go applying chemical to the jacket. You're just going to test one little tiny area that is a good reference. And if that tests presumptive positive for blood, then you can send samples off for DNA testing. And then after that, you would probably want to apply the Blue Star after you've done any DNA testing that you're going to do on that jacket. So it's usually done in a very step-by-step manner. That way you don't have these issues where somebody has applied a chemical to the sample and then you're trying later to collect a DNA sample that could be critical in a high-profile case. So this might be something where there's a miscommunication or people are...
Oh, yeah, there's definitely miscommunication. They don't know.
And that can happen on big cases like this. So like we were talking, there is a lot of pressure. So you might, have internal pressure within a department where, you say there's a jacket with blood on it. We have to test this. We have to figure this out right now versus just slowing it down and figuring out what is going to be the best approach when this goes to court. And this could very well be why they went for a plea deal versus taking this case to trial, because there are so many things that I've heard in this case to where it could leave the opportunity for a reasonable doubt. And if a jury gets a hold of these type of results or all these different questions that you guys have, they might think, well, hey, maybe this person did not commit this crime. And that's all just based off of, miscommunication or procedural errors or just issues with the case in general, just the high profile nature of it.
The DNA person asked the detective if they photographed the process using and he said yes, but the photos didn't turn out.
And that happens with Blue Star testing. That's why you want to make sure that you have somebody that has done this before, that's qualified to do this, especially in a big case like this. You don't want this to be the first time you've gone in and used Blue Star when you have a quadruple homicide.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you for
Right.
explaining all that.
Absolutely.
Did I throw up enough of the documentation to show that? Kim, was that everything? Because Lucy sent me all the pieces of the document that's going in there, so I wanted to make sure I put everything up.
Just looking at that right there. So it says a pink blanket with red hearts, which tested presumptive positive for proteins using Blue Star. That's actually incorrect. Blue Star is going to test, it's going to react with hemoglobin in the blood. So it's not testing for necessarily proteins, it's testing for hemoglobin within the blood. And that's what's going to react with the Blue Star to give you a positive result. So that, I mean, it's one error right there.
And there's the blanket right there. As they're showing I'm sure you can, I think you can see it. I have it blown up pretty big. Thank you, Molly.
Again, if you get that blanket and you see something on it that you think is blood, you're not just going to spray Blue Star all over it. You're not going to apply Amido black to it. You're going to first document it. You're going to photograph it. You're going to take measurements like they've done. I wouldn't lay the scale directly on that blanket either, just because that could be a source of contamination if that is actually blood. But you're going to document everything first. You're going to swab these samples and you're going to test them. And if it tests presumptive positive for blood, then you can send it off to the lab or send samples off to the lab for DNA testing. Then you might want to consider Blue Star testing after everything else is done. And there's really no rush in these type of cases. I mean, it takes several years for a case to go to trial anyway. So you're not in a huge rush to test these things. And so that creates problems for people too. When there's all this pressure and you got 4 dead bodies, there's a sense of urgency when you don't want to rush forensic testing.
Well, and first and foremost, I want to say thank you, sir, for being a true professional and doing things the right way. That is very much appreciated from the world. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
And everybody, no matter how good your crime scene unit is, or your detectives, or your agency, you are prone. Everybody's prone to errors. I mean, you can make errors. Everybody's human. You just want to document those things. So if you do make an error, you want to make it known. That way, when you go to court, people aren't asking you questions about why you made the error. It's just full disclosure. And I will never go and bash somebody's police work or investigative work, even if it is bad. I mean, unless I'm testifying in court and asked a direct question by an attorney, I'm not going to go and bash anybody, because we don't know what exactly happened in these cases. We don't know the exact timeline. All we're doing is going based off of the documentation, and we can make assumptions based on the documentation, but we don't know for sure when this was done, how it was done, what level of documentation. All we're doing is just going based off of the reports. And so we don't want to, I want to be a little cautious and being too hard on them.
Of course.
Because ultimately they do have somebody that's in custody for this crime. So they must have done something right.
You did, yeah, okay, yeah. One thing I will add, though, is with
None of us
too much, guys.
it's all good. With I malfunctioned there for a minute. I had a little short circuit. I'm sorry. With this blanket,
I'm sure Birdie's going crazy listening to this too.
Yes. With this blanket, it was a box returned to the owner of these materials.
Yeah.
It was given back to her, and then within 24 hours brought right back they went and picked it right back up, which I thought was a little bit off. But one of the questions I want to ask you, and that's not necessarily directly in relation to this, and this is just, you don't even have to answer this, Jeffrey, if you don't want to. Could you take a situation that's like this? It doesn't have to be this one. Could somebody take something, and this is out of the box, and again, if you don't want to answer, just say, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to move on. So no problem. Could somebody take a situation like this and overdo this situation, spray it, overdo it too much to try to ruin a sample such as this with that aspect of it?
I don't think so, right?
So
Blue Star, yeah.
So you're saying, could an investigator get this sample and intentionally overdo it on the testing to ruin the sample?
Basically, yes, sir.
Could they? Yes. But then you would be suggesting that, whoever did this testing is, obviously, a corrupt individual. So could it be done? Yes.
And I'm not saying it was. I'm just curious because I have there's a lot of people that ask those types of questions that are curious as to, is that a possibility? That's all.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the type of thing. So if we were in court right now and I was sitting on the, testifying as an expert, and if a defense attorney asked me that question, could this be done? My answer would be, although I don't typically like to entertain hypotheticals,
of course,
could it be done? Sure. I mean, just about anything is possible. And so that would be my answer in court. It's like, yes,
no worries.
it's possible. However, that would then imply that, your investigator did this intentionally to jeopardize the case.
And I'm not implying that at all. I'm just asking as a hypothetical because people do ask those questions daily and regularly, and that way it's known that it can be done or it can't be done. That's all. So,
and don't worry, you're never going to offend me. I mean, ask me anything. I mean,
no worries. Thank you for that, though.
I love these type of scenarios and these type of questions because this does prepare me for court. These are the type of things that I get asked in court and things that defense attorneys will ask just to try to create reasonable doubt in a case. And it can. I mean, depending on the scenario. I mean, that's a very good question, and it's a legitimate question that might need to be answered.
Good to know. Very good to know. Thank you for that, Logan. Anything to add to that, ma'am?
Yeah. So I was going to ask this question at the end, but I guess I'll ask it now. And you don't have to answer this either, but have you ever been in a situation where you have seen officers try and do cover-ups for any reason?
I personally have never seen that.
Okay.
I've never personally seen somebody, and if I ever did see that, I'm obligated to report it. So if I ever saw something like that personally, I would 100% report it. I would not.
I believe that you would.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, my reputation as an analyst, my reputation as an investigator, I mean, that's something that's very important. And, all it takes is one time doing something like that, and it just completely destroys your career. There are people that have had that happen.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you for your honesty again and for doing things the way you do, sir. That's very much appreciated. And it's good to know. It's good to know you're out there.
It's refreshing.
Very much. Very much. Thank you, Logan. Very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything to add on, Miss Kim, or to go ahead with, or anything else you want to go there with?
I have other questions, if that's okay.
Let's go there. Let's do it.
So something that bothers me in this case is that, so I understand in the state of Washington, they do not release medical examiners' reports. I understand that, but there's a huge question in this case with the timeline. And one of the things you need for a solid timeline, in my opinion, would be the time of death, right? And I understand not seeing information in the documents about descriptions or photos of the victims. No, we don't want to see that. I do want to see the time of death, though. And is that something that they can legally not show? And why would they not want to show that?
There's a couple things. So first of all, the time of death is going to be based on a couple of different things. The time of death, you have the legal time of death, which is the time of death that somebody is pronounced. So that does not necessarily mean that that person died at that date and time. And that's the time that's going to go on the death certificate. So if these people died, let's say 10 hours before they were found, or 8 hours before they were found, the time of death that's actually going to go on the death certificate is the time that officers made first contact or that paramedics went in there and pronounced them deceased. That's the legal time of death.
Okay.
Now, like in a setting like a hospital where you actually witness somebody die, that time of death is going to be accurate.
Okay.
But in coroner investigations or death investigations, unless you actually witness the death or they were alive like a couple minutes prior and then you find them dead, that time of death is not necessarily going to be accurate and reflect what the true time of death is. So that's where your death investigators like myself, the medical examiner, they're going to look at condition of the body, the circumstances at the scene, and they're going to give a better estimate of the true or the actual physiological time of death. I mean, you can look at people's cell phones, you can look at their smartwatches to see when their heart stopped. So there are all investigative approaches. The digital evidence in this case is huge because it's going to give you a better idea of, when did these people stop using their cell phones? When did they stop moving around the scene?
Right.
That's going to give you a better idea of the actual time of death versus the legal time of death, which on the death certificate. But
what would you look at as far as like just in that room, examining the body? What are all the things that you would look for to, especially with a horrific stabbing for her, they had very significant wounds. What would be all the things to lead you to that?
There's going to be about 4 or 5 different things you look at. So first is temperature of the body. How warm are they? Are they warm? Are they cold? Is it consistent with the environment that they're in? Somebody put up their liver temperature. You can do a liver temperature in some cases. It's a little hard to interpret. There are a lot of factors that can go into making that liver temp unreliable, but that is one method you can use to determine how long somebody's been dead. So for example, your normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And after you die, depending on the weather conditions that you're in, your body's going to cool down about 1 degree or 2 per hour. So if you do a liver temperature and somebody is, 80, you go from 98.6 to 88.6, then you can do the math and figure out how long they've been deceased. So that's one method, is the body temperature. Another is rigor mortis, the stiffening of the body. So your body's going to get stiff at a somewhat predictable amount of time. So if the body's stiff, that gives you another piece of evidence to suggest how long they've been dead. The other is the pooling of the blood, lividity. So that's one more piece of evidence. So that's why it's important in these type of cases to either get a medical examiner or a coroner investigator in there right away and look at the condition of the body, because that's what's going to give you a better idea of that true time of death versus the time that they were pronounced. Or at least you can narrow down that window and get some actual physical evidence that shows how long the person's been dead.
So in a situation like this, with obviously these are all roommates in this house, for a medical examiner to have to go in, and I don't know if you know this, but do they have to wait for,
That's the coroner.
Yeah. But did they have to wait a certain period of time for like a warrant to go in because there's so many different occupants?
So the coroner and medical examiner, they're not subject to the warrant. So that's going to be specific to like the investigation as a whole. But the coroner and medical examiner do not need a warrant to go in to examine the body. So if they feel like that's going to be an issue, like the actual time of death and narrowing down the time of death, they can have the coroner or medical examiner go in, wear shoe covers, take all precaution that you're not going to disturb that scene, and at least put hands on the body and try to figure out how long they've been dead. That is one option. But
they're instructed and led by the agency.
If they're instructed and led and it's documented, it's on body cam or photographed or videoed, that's what you would want to do. But in most cases, the police investigation is going to occur first. And then whenever they're ready for the coroner or to come in, that they're not going to destroy evidence, then they can go in and take a look. But that's why it's really good for the police investigators to have good relationship with the coroner investigators, because everybody knows what to do. Everybody's on the same page. It's not just some big mess whenever something like this happens. That's usually what happens. I've waited. Gosh, I've had crime scenes where I know for sure there was a homicide, and the police investigators don't call out the coroner or medical examiner for almost 24 hours. I've had cases like that. And so think about after 24 hours, getting to look at that body, the condition is completely different,
especially in summertime.
But
Right.
why would they do that? What was the situation for, like, what would be any good situation for doing that?
Because the evidence is going to be, the scene evidence is going to be more important than the condition of the body. So you're kind of deciding what the priority is in this case. In that case that I'm talking about specifically, it was a person that was beaten to death. And so there was blood everywhere. There was, potentially trace evidence. They did not have a suspect at the time. So their police investigation, their documentation of the scene, their collecting of evidence around the body was more important at that point than actually going in and assessing the condition of the body.
Okay.
That's how you look at it. I mean, that's exactly how you discuss these things. And that's why, as an investigative team, you want to make sure everybody's on the same page. You want to make sure everybody has the same education, knows what to expect. But that's where, the law enforcement might reach out to the coroner or medical examiner and say, hey, we don't have a warrant yet. We have a very violent scene. There's gonna be a lot of evidence, but we do really need to figure out how long these people have been dead. That's gonna be critical in our investigation. And that's when you walk someone in and just have them take a quick look, and they leave, and then they come back later when it's time to pick up the bodies.
And would it affect the autopsy? Like, is it normal to do the actual autopsy and someone has to help me out with the date, the actual date they did the autopsies? Wasn't it not till like the 16th or
16th.
something? Yeah.
Yes.
So they died somewhere in the early morning hours of November 13th, and the autopsies were not performed till the 16th. So how doesn't that affect all those tests that you're conducting?
It can. And think about it. I mean, the coroner or the medical examiner, the doctor who's doing the exam may not necessarily be the best person to decide how long this person has actually been dead, because you're talking about 3 or 4 days after the actual death. So the scene investigator like myself, the coroner or medical examiner investigator, is probably going to be the best person to document the actual condition of the body, and that's at the scene. But then, of course, the pathologist or the doctor who's doing the exam can use that information in making their ultimate decision how long that person's been deceased. So it is, everybody's role is going to play a factor in deciding these things and determining these things, because, depending on what the office's schedule is, depending on how many exams they have, obviously, the district attorney, detectives are going to want to be at that autopsy exam. It may not necessarily occur that same day or the very next day. It could be several days, or sometimes, depending on the agency and how busy they are, it could be weeks later that the person gets an exam.
Oh, wow. And is it a myth, or does stomach contents really help with identifying that time of death?
It can. So I actually worked on a case from Ireland. I got flown out to Ireland. The case, the Sophie case, Sophie Toscan de Plantier, who was murdered in Cork County, Ireland. I went there a few years ago and helped out with a documentary film that they were producing. And one of the key factors in her investigation was figuring out, was she killed in the evening hours or was she killed in the morning hours? And everything that was in her stomach contents was consistent with what people in that area would typically eat in the morning hours. So in that case, stomach contents were very critical in determining that investigation and timeline.
How much would it was said that both the back sliding door and the front door was open for many, many hours, and it was 28 degrees outside. How much would that affect the body kind of changing as far as being from alive to not alive?
It can prevent them from decomposing quicker. The cold weather will prevent the body from changing. But then it can also make their body cool down faster, which might throw off those liver temperature results if you do a liver temperature. So it can have positive effects and it can have negative effects both.
Interesting.
Boy, he just threw us sideways, huh?
And I'm just making things way worse, right?
I guess where I, for a long time, have thought is, did they really postpone taking in what's her face, because they were trying to eliminate like an exact time of death, but it's not that of importance in this. In my opinion,
a lot of people have a hard time understanding Jeffrey because she has there's a phone call between her and one of the police officers that she was there around. I think at the latest it was like 1 PM, 1:15, something like that possibly, and they had her staged over on King Road the whole day. She didn't go in the house that evening until after the prosecutor and his assistant went in around 5:30. Then Kathy, the coroner herself, goes in between 8:30, 9 o'clock that night. And that's when she takes charge of the scene. And I personally found it odd. Being a first responder, I've been on many, many scenes where the coroners usually, and I know they get delayed. Don't get me wrong on that. But I very rarely see others go into the home before the coroner, is what my personal issue was with that, so that's what I think a lot of people question with that. So
I think in this case, if I were the coroner or medical examiner investigator that was working this case, I would request to at least go in and see the bodies and just check their condition. I would I'd of course be fully gowned up, make sure that I'm not contaminating any samples. I would want to touch each person and see if they're warm or cold. I'd want to see if they have the rigor mortis. I'd want to check if they have the lividity. And main thing that I would want to do is make sure that everybody's body condition was consistent throughout the 4 bodies.
Yes.
Like, had one been deceased longer than the others, because that would potentially be a huge problem, right? If some of the people had been deceased for long periods of time.
Very
And
much
the
so.
only
Story timeline.
and the only way you can do that is if you get in there quickly. But again, sometimes police investigators don't want the coroner or medical examiner to go in because they feel like they are going to potentially affect evidence. And most agencies want to control that scene. And, it's hard for them to give up that control and let another investigative agency come in and formulate opinions. So
and as weird and as dumb as people say these guys marching around this house, I mean, they were just basically probably waiting on orders to hand it over to Idaho because they couldn't handle it. As weird as it sounds, but there's, whatever. There's a lot of speculation.
Yeah, and it's, again, I don't want to talk bad about any agencies because it's hard being in that position. I mean, you got a case that, like this, that, is huge.
Never happened before.
Never handled
small town
like this before. And so it just completely throws people for a loop. That's why you got to train. That's why you have to, get your agencies training, get your investigators training. That way, when you get these weird, crazy cases, you at least kind of have a, procedural understanding of what everybody's going to be doing versus, everybody just standing around inside the crime scene, potentially contaminating evidence.
Yes. Yeah. It was like I said, being a first responder, being on these scenes, working with coroners, so on and so forth. It was odd that they had allowed, or I don't want to say allowed, but that the prosecutor had gone in beforehand, because at some point, things are easier to rigor sets in and offsets, and then, the posing of the bodies and libidity and the issues and so on and so forth that I know of myself, but I was just curious as to why, which is why I asked you that question. So
these are all great questions, and these are the kind of things I like answering, just to kind of educate your viewers and educate the public too.
Yes, that's absolutely why we're doing it. So I very much appreciate
I have a question. When it comes to, you're familiar with CODIS? Do you ever have to put any information into CODIS?
I personally don't. That would be something like the laboratory analysts, the DNA analysts, the people that are actually working in the crime lab. Those are the people that are going to be entering that information into CODIS.
I do have a general question about CODIS, but if you're not comfortable, then just say that. It was
just
said
so your viewers know what CODIS is. It's a combined DNA index system, and it's where all of these DNA results that people are acquiring through testing, or people that are booked into prison on felonies, that's where all this DNA information goes. That way you can possibly link one suspect to another from different areas.
Well, it's like a Dewey Decimal System of DNA.
Yeah. I was reading some transcripts the other day, and it was Ann Taylor asking Detective Payne questions on, there were 3 different unknown male DNA from the scene that was never processed or tested. And she asked him why he didn't initially put it into CODIS, and he basically said he never did. And he basically said he was waiting for something else to pop up, because you can only enter one thing into CODIS at a time, and you have to wait for the result of that to then move on to the next thing. Is that true?
I've never entered anything into CODIS, so I don't want to say for sure, but that doesn't sound right, because people are entering DNA, unknown DNA samples into CODIS all the time. And so I don't know of any, I'll have to look that up and see if there's any restrictions on how many samples you can upload into CODIS and you have to be authorized to be able to upload these samples into CODIS. Sure. So it's not like
we couldn't find anything, like you said. We looked it up, multitude of us did, and nobody could find any truth to any of that, which was very weird. But I think that's why the question was asked.
Yeah.
I
looked into it. Yep.
So, Miss Logan, anything more with any of that or going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were previously on Birdies, I think you had mentioned earlier that now that you've kind of looked into it a little bit more, you have more information and understand why we're asking so many questions. Does that change your thoughts on the time frame that this crime possibly could have happened in?
You mean like, could one person have committed this crime? Is that
in that period of time?
Yeah, in such a short time frame that they've given us.
it doesn't really change my opinion based off the evidence and everything that I've seen and read. Personally, I think that one person could commit this crime in the time period that was presented. There are a lot of things that raise questions and create doubt in my mind, but is it possible? Like the state's theory on the way it happened, it is possible. I do
Can I
believe
add
it.
on to that, Logan?
Yes. And
So-
me too.
One of the major things that causes question. Do you want to do that real quick, Dago?
Thank you, Jen. That's for Logan.
Well,
but yeah, thank
yeah.
you, Leia,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Jen, very much. We appreciate
So
you, dear.
they can commit that
Oh.
in killing these 4 people in that amount of time, but can they do that in that amount of time with this amount of wounds on each victim?
I think so. I've seen stabbing cases with
Yeah.
multiple stab wounds. I mean, of course, I have not seen
Yeah.
a case
No,
like
no,
this,
that's good enough.
4 dead bodies, multiple
Yeah.
stab wounds on each victim. But I see the question there without transfer. This person would have blood on them. I mean, there is absolutely no question in my
Right.
mind that the suspect had blood on them walking
There
around.
was no transfer. There was absolutely in the upstairs bedroom where they're saying the 2 victims were killed first. Not one speck of their blood was found in the other bedroom.
Well, there were in the upper hallway or the hallway.
In the hallways, but not in the other room where the 2 other victims were.
And I mean, think about it in so if somebody commits those crimes upstairs, there's DNA mixtures in the common area, but then you don't find DNA mixtures in the other room. I mean, are you testing every single sample on the bodies, every single sample at that scene? No. You're picking specific samples and specific patterns to test. And so could there be DNA mixtures
True.
in that room that weren't tested? Sure. I mean, that is a possibility. So I would say that,
Okay.
it's almost impossible. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that this person had blood on them when they went from the upstairs room into the other room.
So then that brings me to that major caveat about that is that you have this massive crime scene in this house. You have stains on the common areas on the second floor, on the walls, on the railings, but not one drop of anything on the floors or on the baseboards. And I'm wondering, because they did find one latent print outside one of the surviving roommates' door. So that had the blue, whatever substance they used. But
Amido black.
wouldn't they have looked like, I would have wanted to coat the whole entire floor looking for that?
I mean,
And there's no evidence of that they did that.
Missed.
yeah, I mean, there were some areas they checked for that looked like possible footwear patterns. But think about it too, in the sense that there were people that walked through that house before they processed that scene. So there were officers, there were other college students that walked through that house before they actually processed that scene. So by the time that you actually get to testing these things, is that going to necessarily give you a usable result if you go and test all the floor for like footwear patterns or trace blood samples? It could actually create more confusion than give you a usable result. So I know what you're saying. I mean, you would want to find,
Right. But would that justify not doing it? You're trying to find a killer. Like, you're still going to want
and
to
it
try
probably
to
would not
find.
justify not doing it. I mean, I think you would
Yeah.
still want to do that and see what you can find. And if you find a footwear pattern that is an officer's, you just explain it. If
Right.
you find a DNA sample that was one of the people that came in and found the victims, then you have a way to explain it. But
So then would we have seen that in the crime scene photos? Like, we have the one photo of the one footprint. If they would have looked for that on other areas of the floor, would we have seen blue liquid on the floors in the
Yeah.
crime scene
yeah,
photos?
so if they tested it, you would see it.
Okay. Thank you.
How about Brian Koberger's vehicle? So they processed that with luminol, and there was not one speck ounce of any blood at all in his vehicle. Would you expect to see something in somebody's vehicle that rushed out of a quadruple homicide into their vehicle, drove away, and there's no blood in it?
It's a confusing one. However, I have actually personally seen cases where there's a violent assault. The suspect would have again had to have had blood on them. You would expect there to be blood transfer to their car, but the one that I saw was there was, I think, maybe one very tiny area that reacted with Blue Star. So even though the person has blood on them and you expect them to be transferring blood to surfaces, sometimes you just don't get that transfer. You just don't get that result. If the blood, if these small blood stains that are being created by an impact event have time to dry, and even in cold weather, these small individual blood stains are going to dry. I mean, they may be on the person's shoulders, they might be on their upper back from cast off, they might be on their sleeves, and those aren't necessarily areas that are going to be touching that vehicle. So you would have to have blood on your hands that are transferring blood to the steering wheel, or transferring to like the shift knob, or you might have to have blood on your back that is still wet to transfer to the seat. And again, I mean, if we're talking about Koberger as being the suspect, I mean, this was his thing. I mean, he was obsessed with crime, and so could he have potentially covered his seats or had ways to prepare to avoid transfer to surfaces? Maybe. But just because somebody has blood on their clothing or their body or different surfaces, you may not always get transfer to another surface or object. So, but yeah, it's weird that there was no blood in that car. I mean, it's
not a hair, not a
Nothing.
fiber, not
Nothing.
anything.
it's
Not
weird.
even
but
in the apartment.
it's weird, but again, just from what I've personally seen, it is possible. And so that
Let
you know,
me, since you mentioned that, Jeffrey, I want to ask you just a personal opinion, if you don't mind. And again, as always, never feel compelled to answer anything you're not comfortable with. Okay. Knowing what you just spoke on, that there was nothing found, we all, even everybody sitting here with you right now, expected that car to be a petri dish. We did. Okay. So now that we know, your opinion on the vehicle, but this was the vehicle, his own personal residence, apartment, his office, his parents' home, he himself, nothing was found, not to mention any kind of connection to any of the victims, whether digital, personal, anything. There was nothing found, including the fact that the lead detective said, we wanted to find these things,
Yeah.
and they said, no, there's nothing connecting him in any way, shape, or form to this. What would your thoughts be seeing that, knowing that as a professional in this field? What would you think on that?
well, I mean, to get a conviction, I mean, it can be a couple things. It can be either circumstantial evidence or a accumulation of circumstantial evidence, or it could be like forensic evidence where you're getting a fingerprint at a scene or a DNA sample at a scene. And I mean, his DNA was found on the knife sheath that was in the room. So there was actually a forensic link between him and that scene. Now, just because you don't have blood stains or blood transfers in his apartment or his car, I mean, that would be a great piece of forensic evidence if they found it, but the absence of it does not mean that he did not commit these crimes or that he wasn't there. So, again, we have to go with the evidence itself and what we can analyze from the evidence. And sometimes, not having that evidence doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if that explains things well enough.
That's your opinion, sir, and we appreciate and respect that very much, very much so.
And again, I have to think of it in the sense of like, if I'm testifying in court, I have to be objective. I can't, say. I can't be really firm on an opinion one way or another, unless it's a piece of evidence that I analyze myself and I can speak to that evidence and I can say that this is the only way that this could occur. I have to keep all possibilities open, and you want to do that during a police investigation too. You don't want to just narrow down one suspect or one idea. You have to, throughout your entire investigation, even if you think you got the right person, keep it open to the idea that there might be more out there. And again, you just got to let that evidence speak.
Expert witness.
Now there is and I hate to back up, but I missed this, and I have other questions I'll be pulling too that I'm trying to catch. But multiple people liked this question. Blue Devil asked, "What would Jeffrey do if someone changed your tags on a crime scene say an investigator or something like, say, all of the sample tags that you had written out, set, to be collected, sent in to be tested after the fact, and so on and so forth. And then in turn, somebody comes in and changes all the renumbers them all. How would you feel on that aspect, and what would you think of that?
With same signatures.
Now, would it be so I guess we have to like get into the scenario a little better. Like, are we talking about
what happened was they were all numbered, they were collected, boxed and tagged and all that and numbered, and then an investigator came in and renumbered everything. And at some point, and it just was like, wait a minute, whoa, why? So that's kind of the question,
a handful of them, not so it was like specific ones, like why.
And that's why coordination and communication is really important. So like I told you, the coroner's investigation, the medical examiner investigation is independent of the police investigation. So what I might identify as like evidence item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, somebody else may have come in and started another evidence documentation scheme. And so that's why, the coordination is really important, because it does create a lot of confusion. I would have to then go back and say that my evidence item 1 it corresponds to their evidence item number 5, and that creates confusion, and it can again create doubt in a case. And a jury, if they're confused, they're going to be like, well, if I'm confused, why can't you explain this stuff to me? So it does create problems for sure whenever things are mislabeled or relabeled. And you would want to have some report out there that would explain that discrepancy. So if you don't have a report out there to explain that discrepancy, then you have problems. And that's why you guys are asking these questions.
Yeah, and that you are absolutely correct. And real quick, I do want to pop this one up here, because this was something that was recently released to us. There were 2 experts in this case, as you know. There was Dr. Paulette Sutton was the expert for the prosecution. And then Dr. Turby was the defense's expert that came through, and he put his report out as well. And in this book that was recently released to us, Dr. Sutton, Dr. Sutton.
Did you hear this comment that Bertie talked to who the hell was it? Turby?
Dr. Turby, yeah.
And he goes, Bertie, you got to understand, I do not breathe the same air as you people.
Yes. I heard that. It was great. Dr. Turby's awesome. But Dr. Sutton's claims in this book, through an interview that was done with the author, because she was asked more than once, about the transfer between victims.
Okay.
Her claim to this, and I'm giving this to you because I just want your opinion on this, because it's very hard to believe. In the book, the author claimed that Dr. Sutton states, as the expert, that the perpetrator ran around the house naked, committing and during the crime, and that's how she explains the fact that there's no transfer. Jeffrey, an opinion on this is it's hard to keep a straight face on this one.
And I mean, I haven't seen this report, and I don't know this person personally, but I mean, unless, again, that's where you get into trouble, is if you have experts making wild allegations that are not based off of evidence. I mean, if there's evidence to support your opinions, then that's great. But what evidence would there be to suggest the person was running around naked through the home, unless they have video? And just because you're naked doesn't mean you're going to not transfer blood. Actually, I think it'd be more likely you're transferring blood or evidence if you're naked, because
there's nothing to collect the
right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Exactly.
Do you think it's likely, based on the weapon and how many wounds and the appearance of a fight, struggle, that the perpetrator would have been injured?
It's very likely. But again, if they have gloves on, if they have long sleeve shirt, if they have jeans on, if they have boots on, things that are going to prevent injury, then you may not see it. But a lot of times in these type of cases, when they're stab wounds, especially, I mean, they can get messy, and they're hard to commit. I mean, you're going to get tired, you're going to get sloppy, you're going to cut yourself. So you see injuries a lot in stabbing cases, especially. But and can could you create this many stab wounds on bodies in that short amount of time and not get injured yourself? It's very unlikely, but if you're wearing gloves and protective clothing, then it is possible. I don't think the person was running naked through the home, though. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
One knife. One knife.
Yes, one knife, running naked, committed
It's a
4
knife.
murders.
It's not a knife. It's a knife.
Being naked ups the odds of being injured.
I think that's what people struggle with, though, is the fact that there was 10 skin cells that were scraped off of a removable object, but yet there was actual unknown male DNA blood mixed with the victim's blood. And that's what people struggle with so much, and they didn't even test it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if you have collected a sample and you know that there's unknown DNA, you have, I mean, you're obligated to test it. I mean, you got to try to figure out whose blood that is, because again, I mean, we're reasonable, normal people. I mean, and you know, it's normal to have those kind of questions and expect answers. And you know, if you're on a jury, which people like us end up on juries, and they're going to have questions too. So you have to be able to answer the jury's questions, and you have to be able to close that door. That way there's no reasonable doubt. That's why we end up with plea deals, because they don't have a solid enough case to take it to court and be 100% certain that they're going to get that conviction.
But you said if they developed a DNA sample, then they should be obligated to like follow through with that and find out who it is, right? And like what Logan's saying, the only sample they had was not that Sheath sample. They had other samples that they created DNA samples of, and they knew they were male, some mixed with the victims, but they did not then.
They never tested them
through it. Yeah, they never took it through that further process that they did with the touch DNA on the Sheath. Like that was a choice that they made.
Yeah. Right. And why they made that choice, I don't know. I couldn't even begin to explain what their reasoning was. I mean, obviously that's an internal department decision that we don't have privilege to knowing, but I mean, you would think just common sense would tell you that, you know, if you have an unknown DNA sample, I mean, you got to try to figure it out, especially if you have a case like this where there's no witnesses and 4 dead bodies. Yes,
sir. Yes,
I think you should test that sample and try to figure out who it is.
I'm going to switch topics just for a second. Have you ever seen a chain of custody list that is all in the same handwriting, the same pen?
I have that same question.
Good one, ladies.
So the chain of custody should be filled out each time that a sample goes from one person to the next. So you would anticipate there being multiple handwriting, multiple pens on there.
Right.
Unless that exact same person is the one that collected that sample, took it to the evidence and submitted it, took it out, took it to the lab, picked it up from the lab, took it to court. So that would be the only scenario where you would expect to see the same handwriting and same pen everywhere. And I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but that's
well.
Okay,
I was gonna lead into that.
It.
Yeah, I was and I want to ask this too, Jeffrey. Even if they're, say, for instance, the main department that's running this is using a barcode system, and then on top of the barcode system, which, you know, they have specific labels for signature per person, like you said, it's not going to be the same person, but they're all signed with the same handwriting, same pen, same penmanship, everything's the same. But anyway, that's what happened with the sheath. The knife sheath chain of custody was tagged and bagged, tipped and sealed. And
I have a picture if you want me to put it backstage.
Yeah, go ahead and put it backstage. I'll show him. That way he can see what we're talking about.
If they have a digital tracking system, I can. A lot of agencies will do like a handwritten backup, because obviously chain of custody is huge. I mean, that's going to be one thing.
Absolutely.
Item of evidence thrown out when you go to court. And considering that is the key piece of forensic evidence that tied Coburger to that scene, I mean, that's a huge piece of evidence. And so again, that's another reason why you might see a plea deal in a case like this, where, you know, if that's presented to a jury, they might ask the same question. Why does it look like this? And that's a very good, reasonable question.
But I almost feel like they would be confused by just, it was just his DNA on the knife sheath. The jury wouldn't know enough about chain of custody. They would, you know what I mean, where I'm getting.
Yeah, and that's where it's really important to educate your jury on how important chain of custody and chain of evidence is. But that's where that prosecutor or defense attorney has to get an expert up there that's good at explaining and educating the jury versus just assuming that they know what all this stuff is. And
Right.
26.
Right. So
Yeah, and-
if we look at this here, Jeffrey, sorry about that. This is where the signatures are. Okay, over here to the right side, if you can see the tag, the upper right, there is a barcode, yes, but this is there as well. And if you can you blow it up any bigger at all, Logan?
Yeah,
Possibly.
let me try.
That way, it's I know it's probably just my old eyes, but
No, Joey, it's me too.
No, that's as far as it goes.
okay. So
Yes.
if you can get in there and look at it, the handwriting, if you notice, is absolutely identical for every signature as well as the dating and everything. It's the same pen, same handwriting, all the same.
And if they have a digital system of tracking this evidence, this might just be a summary that they included on there. So if you go up a little bit, there were different handwriting samples, and so that chain of custody looks like what you would normally expect to see. You know, different handwriting samples, signatures, but it looks like that one there in the middle is just a summary of who handled that item of evidence, not necessarily saying that it changed hands at this point and has signatures. But again, whatever their internal procedures are, they should be able to explain when it goes to court and why you're seeing that.
And this came to question because Dr. Turvey, the defense expert, said this is freeze, back up. This is a big problem, and he only saw this. His report came out literally 4 days before Brian Koberger and the defense team took the plea deal, and he called this into question and said, this is a big problem, in my opinion. So this is, again, why we're asking you this. So,
I mean, just the limited knowledge that I have of this item of evidence and this chain of custody and their procedures internally, I don't see it as necessarily a huge problem because it looks like it's just a summary. And if
So
they have,
is this so this is Sheath is in this bag, and this bag is traveling from place to place to go to different labs. So if they don't have a digital system, because I'm not going to even go there. So if they did not have a digital system and they were marking it on this bag, because they do reference making notes on the actual bag.
right.
Yes, ma'am.
They would be marking that then on a label like that, correct?
right. And so what you see up top is normally what you would see on a chain of custody or a chain of evidence. It's their name, who it went to, where it was going to and from, a date, and then a physical signature.
Okay.
But again, every lab, every department's going to be a little bit different, but you would typically see like a physical signature or somebody signing it to where, you know for certain that person handled it and why and where it went to and from. For example, a lot of things that I deal with is samples trying to identify people. So if I ever send something off to a lab, I'll fill out the chain of custody myself, I'll date it, I'll sign it, and then I send it off to the lab. So I don't know what happens with it after that. So when they receive it, they date it, they sign it, they say that they received it, and they hold it. When they send it back or they send it somewhere else, they'll date it, they'll sign it, they'll send it off, in addition to digital documentation as well. So
because I've heard people try to explain that this would just be the lab manager doing all of this every time it was signed out, but somewhere there should be the receiver also, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and there should be, and it should be on the item of evidence or included with the item of evidence. That way you can definitively say who handled it, when, where it was going to and from. So it's not what I would typically expect to see. But again, they would have to get that person up on the witness stand and explain why their chain of evidence or chain of custody was handled this way.
This was also missing for 3 days as well.
Yeah.
Typically unique.
That's never good.
It was collected on the 13th, and the understanding is that it went into the trunk of a police vehicle, and then poof appears on the 16th, and then this goes into effect. So we were all kind of interested as to how, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have the same questions.
I have a question, and it is off of this subject. It's not about this. We have a DNA sample off the knife sheath, right? And then, which is Q1.1. And then they also ended up taking Brian Koberger's DNA from his own mouth. Would they not compare the sample swab of DNA from the knife sheath to his actual DNA from his mouth?
They should, to get a positive identification.
They did not.
How did they conclude that that was Koberger's DNA on the knife sheath then?
Just through Othram,
It was actually,
through the FBI.
yeah, it wasn't actually Brian's actual DNA on the sheath. It was his father, based on a garbage pull that they pulled, and they referenced it to his father. It's a very strange situation, sir.
Off of a Q-tip that his
Yeah.
father had used.
And so
I thought
can,
they did finally do that. They did not.
yeah, so I can see initially trying to
Eventually, yeah.
and that happens in a lot of cases, right? You know, you have an unknown sample, and especially with the genetic genealogy that's going on, you're basing your opinions or your positive DNA result based off of this genetic genealogy testing. But then you also want to follow it up with testing this sample against the actual DNA of the suspect. And if that wasn't done, I would definitely question why.
Yeah, Lucy says that the ISP forensic lab item 108 was eventual Brian's buccal swab after the fact, but that's not how they initially got the DNA per se. Is what
Did they actually test the buccal swab to Brian Koberger though?
Yeah.
Or to the sheath?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was that octillion number, right?
Yes.
Way too many.
Yeah, and so that's not an abnormal investigative procedure, especially now considering that we have, you know, the opportunity for genetic genealogy and genetic DNA testing to link a suspect to their relative's DNA result initially. But then you always want to follow it up with actually testing the DNA of the knife sheath against Koberger's actual DNA sample.
Right.
I'm just throwing these pictures in here now to be seen. This is these were the other ones sent to me on as to these are way too big. I'm sorry about that. What was the ones we couldn't see clearly, and where did it go? Good Lord. Okay, so there's that tag there as well. And then this is the other. Now this is the one that there were some initials over here on the side about where it was sealed, I guess, so on and so forth. So these are the photographs, the full photographs that we had of the evidence for the evidence packaging for the chain of custody of the sheath. I'm sorry. I can't speak clearly tonight. Sorry that it took so long. Thank you, Lucy, for sending those as well. And 1 minute, guys. I'm trying to get back to where I was supposed to be. There we go. Okay. All right. Got myself all twisted up there for a minute. Sorry about that.
Are you doing a speed test, bud?
I don't know what I was doing, but well, another just malfunction there. My apologies. Okay, let me get back to where I was at. I did have. Is it okay if I drop a couple of these questions that the chat had asked you guys?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure they weren't already covered.
And if there's questions that you guys come up with later, I'm always happy to come back and join you guys again. I really like doing this kind of stuff. I know I may not necessarily give you guys the answers that you're looking for.
No. You're doing amazing. Yeah. We appreciate
it's
everything.
An expert opinion.
We don't want to just hear what we want to hear. We want the
right.
truth.
We want the truth.
Want.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not the type of expert that's going to, you're going to pay for an answer. I'm the type that
and you don't sway.
Give you an unbiased opinion, and I'm truly going to be thoughtful about my analysis. I'm not just going to throw out some crazy theory.
We appreciate that.
And so
we do.
You
pompous attitude.
Yeah, I may not necessarily give people the answers they want, but I tell people that from the get-go. And if I were hired by an attorney, I'm going to give my analysis based on my education, my experience, and training. And I'm not going to, I may even hurt your case. So be prepared. I mean, if that's when you
said the 24-hour wait, you've seen 24-hour waits, you know how many people went, oh shit, 24 hours? That was longer than this.
And that's, again, based on my personal experience with the crime scenes. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've probably been out to, between 3,000 and 3,500, death investigation scenes. I've prepared probably 4,200 death investigation reports. So I've seen a lot. I would think just about everything.
That's a rough job. Props, bud. Oof.
It's interesting. It's
yeah.
never boring, that's for sure.
I'm glad you said what you said too, because I was going to ask you, as this stuff progresses, would you be interested in coming back and joining us again for more of these Q&A sessions? Because I think there's going to be a lot more information that we're going to be questioning. So I'm grateful to hear you say that.
I love doing this stuff, and I really like educating, and it gives me an opportunity to promote all my little side gigs that I'm doing. And
were you starting a channel on YouTube or no?
Yeah, we dropped the link earlier.
I have my YouTube channel. Eventually, I would love doing something like what you guys are doing. I've thought of a lot of different ideas, and just explaining death investigation in general, or just talking about, I thought of, just explaining to everybody what different color body bags means.
Awesome.
Most people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
What does it mean? I know.
I can't give it away now. That's my my talk.
That's his content, right?
So, like in the brief stuff that you've seen in this case, was there anything that went, oh wow, yeah, that's odd?
Just about everything, I guess.
Okay. That's a good answer. That's good enough.
And you're looking at 4 college kids' lives. You're looking at a police investigating agency that hadn't really handled something like this before, and so the more you dive into all these cases, you're gonna find ththings that just create confusion. And so again, that's I was trying to think about why in the world would they take a plea deal in this case, but all of the questions that we've talked about tonight is exactly why I think a plea deal was taken in this case, because any one of these questions could potentially sway a juror's opinion about guilty or innocent.
Yeah. Right. So this question comes from Common Sense Ain't That Common, like the name says. Jeffrey, if the front and back sliding doors were open over the night, or for any period of time, truly, honestly, this is a good question. I'm curious myself. Could the difference in temperature coming from the outside to the inside of the house, of course, cause condensation on the walls and dilute the blood? Because there was a lot of diluted blood found.
Not likely on the walls, but areas that are close to like the windows or the door that was open. I wouldn't anticipate there being like condensation throughout the home. Like one of the areas where I saw diluted blood samples was on that table, that folding table.
Yeah.
Yes. And a cup tipping over that had liquid in it could explain why there were diluted blood samples, or if somebody coughed up or spit up the blood, that could explain why there's diluted blood samples. But
isn't there a way to exactly test that though? Like, is there a way to say, okay, it's not water, it's
saliva,
not beer, it's not spit? Like, can't they narrow it down?
Yeah. Possibly. And that's where you would, rely on a different type of laboratory that can identify different chemicals or substances. And so you might be able to identify the liquid that created the dilution, but sometimes you can't. But if you don't see something in the area that would explain the dilution, you probably should try to do that testing and figure out what created it. I've been to crime scenes, of course, where there has been cleanup, but typically you're seeing bleach bottles, you're seeing, wet sponges or rags that have been thrown away. And so you have a pretty good idea of what created the dilution. But in this case, I don't know what diluted those blood samples. Aside from maybe a cup being tipped over, or the possibility of that blood being spit up or cast off of a knife that is diluted with some other liquid like water or some other body fluid.
It was a funny point that was brought up in this recent book drop was the one bathroom that didn't have any toilet paper in it. It didn't have this, it didn't have that. There was nothing there. It was super clean. Just interesting. Like
it was pointed out that the bathroom seemed to have been spotlessly cleaned at some point, and it's being questioned within the book. I believe
there's not even signs of occupation.
Not like nobody had occupied the bathroom in a long period of time, and there's there's a bedroom and a spare room down there that was used regularly, and it just looked spotless. So that was a question asked.
And that's where you would want to use the blue star on the sink and in the bathroom.
Yeah, and there was none.
Perfect scenario that you would use blue star to just rule out the possibility of cleanup.
Good.
And so-
Well, and it's interesting because that was stated in this by the defense and other subjects that there seemed to be a cleanup done. One of the things in the book as well, speaking of cleanup, that's pointed out is that there's blood splatter. Sorry, said it wrong. Within the walls, the knee wall, across the table, so on and so forth, and even going down as far as the crown molding where the floor and the wall meet, but nothing was found on the floor, nothing, and they took that as very strange.
And the easy explanation, if there wasn't cleanup, is just that person was not actively bleeding, or if they were actively bleeding, they weren't bleeding enough to create drip stains on the ground. Just before we started, I shaved my head, and I cut myself pretty good. And so I was bleeding, but it wasn't enough blood to actually drip on the ground and create a blood stain on the ground. So was I injured and actively bleeding? Yes, but it wasn't something that could be transferred to surfaces. It wasn't enough blood to create drip stains on the ground. So, just because somebody gets punched in the nose and, you get cast off, or, there's blood on a weapon that's being swung around and you get cast off, doesn't mean that that person is actively bleeding to create drip stains on the ground to where you're going to see like a drip trail or blood stains accumulating.
Sure. I have two that I'm going to drop here real quick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Logan.
Oh, goodness.
There's on the half wall on the second floor outside of the bathroom next to Xana's room, there are several drip stains that were said to be diluted. It doesn't look like anything was sprayed on them. It doesn't look like anybody tried to wipe them up or anything. My question is, could they get that way if somebody took a hot shower in the bathroom right next to that wall?
Not likely. I don't think that would be enough to create enough condensation to dilute those stains. Me and Bertie went over those stains in quite detail, all the mixtures, right. And so it appeared to be either blood transfers or some form of cast off. And that could very easily be explained by someone fighting in that area, or somebody swinging a weapon around that has blood stains already on it, or if somebody were punched in the face and are either coughing up blood or spitting up blood, but just not enough to where they're actively bleeding to create drip stains throughout the residence. But again, could a hot shower in a cold environment dilute blood stains that are close by? Yes, but it would have to be fairly close by to where there's active condensation on the windows or the walls to where that blood would be diluted. Actually, I'm gonna test that in my shower next time I shower. I'm gonna spray some blood and see what happens.
I know, Logan, you've kind of touched on this. What if they cranked up the heat in the house and opened all these doors and left them all open just for an extended period of time? Would that create enough condensation in places to create other than the hot shower?
The blood already dripped through the foundation, so it's not.
I mean, okay, you got to rephrase that one. Give me that one again.
So I guess as a reference to like broaden the whole house or this area as a hot shower, so they turned up the heat in the house and they had all these doors open. Would it create it basically would create the same effect in a larger area?
Possibly, but it's a big home.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
And think about like the type of blood stains that are being deposited on the wall. It's not like a big pool of blood. It's small individual blood stains. So this is like impact stains or cast off.
Yeah.
And those are going to dry rather quickly.
Yeah.
Those would not necessarily be subject to dilution just from condensation.
Yeah, that answers it.
And then I see one of your viewer questions there has
yes.
Seen as heinous as this one, or no blood anywhere other than the victim's bedrooms. I've seen just about everything you could possibly imagine. And again, I've seen cases where, very violent attack, multiple stabbing and cut wounds, and impact patterns that I can actually measure and determine the point where the impact occurred. And in the suspect's vehicle, you see almost zero blood transfer. So it is possible.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
I'm not just randomly stating that it is possible that that could happen. I mean, it's based off of things that I've personally seen.
Interesting. Thank you for that that answer. And Sausage Biscuits is asking again. Once amino black test is positive, why wouldn't ALS and or luminol be used in the greater areas of the crime scene?
And that's a good question. So just because you use Amido black in one area, I mean, obviously those areas you're not going to be able to successfully use alternate light sources. That's what ALS is, or luminol on those surfaces, but it doesn't mean you can't do it on all of the other surfaces. But that's a good question. And why they didn't do that, I don't know. And that again was, something that they probably decided during processing the scene. But those are the type of things where, you see investigators going back into the residence multiple times. So they clear the residence and then they release it, and then they decide like, oh my gosh, why didn't we do this? And then they go back in, and to the general public, it's like, oh, they can't figure this out. But then what it really is they're just going over all their evidence and their analysis, and they think, well, maybe we should do this additional step just to possibly rule that out. But then by then, you've already released that scene. And so that again creates doubt and creates questions.
I had another question I was going to ask earlier. I forgot it, and I just remembered it again. If per se, say a steam vacuum was brought in and used in the scene anywhere at all by the perpetrator to clean up something for whatever reason, whoever, I don't know. Is there residual effects of that left behind that would be picked up by crime scene investigators and like they would have saw that was used? It would be known that something like that was used. And is there anything latent that would be left behind from that after the fact? I'm sorry.
There should be, some evidence that that extent of cleanup was done. And if you're trying, I mean, you would do that cleanup to potentially clean up blood or some other body fluid. And if it was a large amount of blood that you're cleaning up with a steam cleaner or a vacuum, you can still see it. So by applying that star chemical, you can still see that there was cleanup. It does not just go away. The hemoglobin in the blood is microscopic and it sticks around. And when you do cleanup efforts like that, you're really just providing more surface area for the blue star to react to. So it would be obvious. That's something you could see. For
Thank you for that. A lot of people have been asking that most recently for sure. Any signs in the scene to say so within the crime scene or within the injuries of the victim, so on and so forth, are you able to tell, I guess, is what JP's asking, any signs in the scene to say if the killer used a certain hand, whether it be left or right-handed?
That one's a little difficult because some people are ambidextrous, and some people will use their non-dominant hand to like shoot or stab. But everything that I saw based off of the injury patterns on the bodies, especially the two girls upstairs who were most likely killed in their sleep, I would say right-handed. I mean, all the injuries are consistent with somebody being on top of them, stabbing with their right hand.
Got you. Let me see. A lot of the questions that I had starred were asked and answered. I'm trying to catch up with those.
Do you know they had several different agencies involved with this crime, and at one point it looked like there was a van full of US Marshals late at night that went into the house. Do you know what they would be there for? They went in for like maybe 5 minutes and came back out covering their faces, didn't want to be seen by the camera.
What was it? I mean, timeline wise, when was it with respect to when they processed the scene?
5 days, what?
Yeah, I mean, within the first week for sure.
Well, I mean, you're exploring all possibilities. I mean, at that point, they had zero suspect. So you're trying to rely on any resource you can to solve this crime. And if different agencies have different resources. I mean, I've dealt with some agencies that have, like, for example, mobile fingerprint readers that one agency won't have access to. So you might have an agency come in that normally wouldn't be involved in that crime scene, just helping in certain ways. I mean, maybe they had the theory that it was somebody that traveled from out of state that committed this crime. So you might have a different investigative agency involved. But I don't know for certain why.
I have a question about how the the theory, the conclusion has come that the girls were killed in their sleep. And we are seeing in the reports, in the documents, the forensic files that have come out, experts describing. So there's no doubt that they ended up there. Like, that's where they were found. It's my understanding, and you guys clarify if I got this wrong, but I believe Kaylee, and they were both cut on their neck. So there was massive blood loss.
Right.
And most of her blood loss, I believe, was on top of the comforter.
Okay.
On top of the comforter. But then Maddie, the victim next to her, it was under on the sheets. And so something happened in that room, because I've heard you describe like the splatter and all, there were injuries invoked in that room, but there's other evidence, like I think it was Kaylee's. One of them has just their blood. It's not mixed, just theirs. It's like a swipe mark on the outside of the door. And then there's also all those other blood samples, down the railing and in the second floor. So as a crime investigator, when you think about all of that, would you still come to that conclusion?
It's hard to say without seeing pictures of the bodies. And I obviously have not seen pictures of the bodies. I have seen pictures of the scene and all the blood patterns. I've seen the examination reports that document all the injuries. I mean, everything suggests that they were on the bed in the position of discovery when they were injured and died. Now, there could be, again, blood on that suspect, and as they're walking out of the room, they swipe blood on the wall and create that blood stain. It doesn't, and if there's not a mixture at that point, it just means that, that was just exclusively that one victim's blood. It was transferred. Now, if they, one of the theories is that they were killed somewhere else and then staged in that area, or killed somewhere else and then they were taken up to that room and assaulted. You wouldn't see those defensive wounds like you saw on the victims, because obviously they wake up at some point while they're being assaulted and put their hand up trying to defend themselves, whether they're consciously aware of what's going on or not. I mean, that's just your normal body reaction, is to defend yourself. And so everything that I'm seeing suggests that they were in that bed when they were assaulted and killed, and in the position that they were found in.
If one of them is running around the house, or the attack starts in another part of the house and they got chased into that room, could they still have defensive wounds?
Yes.
Okay.
Kaylee only had 3 wounds that could be considered defensive.
On the hands or the outer,
on her arms, yeah.
Upper part, yeah, her arms and area. Right. Thank you, Logan.
And again, just looking at the scene, I don't see anything that would suggest that they were even awake and running around the house before this happened. Could somebody have, encountered the suspect, outside of the door and then run and then jumped in the bed trying to, get their friend awake? Possibly, but again, I just don't see that. And I would suspect that if, they were injured somewhere around the house, that there would be drip stains or some blood evidence to suggest that. And I just do not see that in this case.
I think the other thing that people struggle with was told to us that Kaylee was laying in the bed and there were big puddles of blood underneath of her where she did not have wounds.
Well, they did state it. Well, it's new information. We were told that they were moved. She was moved. That's something new that was said to us most recently too. Sorry, Logan, just to add to that.
Yeah. And I would love to see all the photos. I'd like to see the bed photographs with the blood stains, how they were found. But unfortunately that information hasn't been released.
Right. I believe the author that has the all the files, everything unredacted, said that all of them except for Ethan were moved. Is that how it was described?
They believe they were moved within the area there per se, not so much
not from one room to another.
From one room to another, but moved in, repositioned. Okay. The newest thing, just to tell you, Jeffrey, the newest thing we were told was that, let's go with Kaylee and Maddie, that they were repositioned in the bed, and posed, okay, and staged. That Maddie was posed in a princess pose, and that both the 2 girls were posed to look like they were snuggling, and you know what I mean by that. And then, yeah, these are some of the new statements that were brought out recently within this book. and everybody just kind of was like, "Whoa!" So
Yeah, and
we
I'd like
haven't
to
seen it, of course.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah, and I mean, I would hate.
It was also said that Kaylee had 2 postmortems from ear to ear.
They both did. They both did. Maddie and Kaylee both had.
And that would have had to have been the medical
twice.
examiner to determine that. And if they were killed that quickly, like I had a case one time where this person was stabbed multiple times. The suspect left and returned hours later, stabbed them more. So the forensic pathologist, I mean, it is a very good observation. I mean, I don't know that a lot of people would recognize this. They noticed that there was a lack of bleeding in the area of the second set of stab wounds. And so then the medical examiner, the pathologist, was able to determine that there was repeated stab wounds over a period of time after the person had been deceased. But if you're talking about, how much time did this suspect really have up in the room with those 2 girls? Matter of minutes, right? I don't know that you would necessarily be able to definitively say from a pathologist perspective that some of those wounds were post-mortem if it was that close in time period to their death. But, if they're identifying that, I would really like to see the reports that document how that was determined.
Interestingly enough that you say that, like one of the things that was stated by a family member after speaking with the prosecutor himself, and I don't know if this plays off of that or into that situation alone, but was that there were post-mortem experimental injuries done to the victims, meaning after they were dead, somebody stayed there for a period of time and did some things off, outside of the injuries that were committed during the crime, if that makes sense.
And I mean, that's a pretty serious opinion, right? I mean, that says a lot about the suspect and their motive. And I just hope that whoever made that opinion has the forensic or pathological evidence to support that, versus it just being an assumption. And that's what I would want to see. I mean, as an analyst going in and reviewing cases, I would want to see the report that documented that. I mean, how did they determine that? Was it microscopically? Were there, like I said, were there areas on the body that did not have hemorrhaging or bruising or bleeding associated with the wounds? That's how you would determine that something is post-mortem or after death versus at the time of their death.
That's
right.
We've had a couple super chat questions. I know we've had a million ideas.
I think I asked them, didn't I?
No, they're new. They're new.
Oh,
a million questions about how this blood got diluted. So another one is how likely that diluted blood could come from like a mop, like because if it looks like spatter, if it looks like that, they would like to know how
there
likely
it is.
It
is that possible? And you have mixtures of diluted blood. That is possible. However, if you're mopping up a scene and you're doing it quickly and you don't get rid of all of that evidence, like I mentioned to you that when you're cleaning up a crime scene, you're cleaning up a bloody mess, you're really not cleaning it up. You're just making more of a mess for somebody like myself to identify that there was blood there. So you would see evidence that a mop was used in that area, in addition to those blood spatter stains that were diluted on the wall. So I would say that I do not believe that would be created by a mop, unless I found some other evidence to suggest that a mop was used, or like I've had scenes where a mop was used near a door, and on the opposite side of the door, it looked like fluid had been pushed under the door. So you could definitively say that a mop was used in that case. But in this kind of case, I would have to see some form of physical evidence to support that a mop was used that created those cast-off stains.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, and thank you, Shireen, for that. Very interesting.
These are great questions, and I mean, obviously, if your viewers have questions, a jury would too. And so these are all
right. Right. So Jen asked Brian or states and then asked at the same time, Brian just running all over Moscow, naked and clad in black, with one bushy eyebrow in a fireman's outfit and controlled
bing, bing,
Murphy.
bing.
And in 4 minutes, I must say no. Jeff, what is your favorite season of Dexter? I'm also a fan of Dexter. I knew that was coming sooner or later.
This last one was hot.
Yeah.
I love the original. I mean, that's what I fell in love with, was the very first season. And I mean, they're all great. I like all of them. But
when they got rid of Deb, it was bad.
I'm watching it for the third time, Jeff. Just Jeffrey, just so you know, the third time I've been watching it. But no, I love all of them actually. But the first one's the best. Very, very great show. Okay. Let me see here. And where are we at on time? Do you have a specific time allotment, Jeffrey?
No, whatever.
Of
Whatever.
course,
you guys
we're not
need.
going to keep you here all night, but I just want to make sure we're not going over something.
Yeah,
Time-wise.
I'm always happy to come back too. Whatever you guys need.
Would you
Absolutely.
think it's kind of odd? So this is what I've been stuck on at points is one bedroom in this home is the only bedroom that they took drywall out of. I mean, yeah, there could have been.
What room was drywall taken out of?
That was
Xana's.
Ethan and Xana's.
No, they took it out of Maddie's too.
Did they?
So there
Someone
were
said
blood
that.
patterns that I saw on the wall in the two girls upstairs that you can actually use to possibly calculate the location where that impact event occurred in. But then you also have to have like an analyst come out to the scene and do that, or there has to be sufficient measurements that somebody could go back and explain. I mean, I can just say approximately based off the patterns that I see and the blood stains that I see, but in a case like that, you might want to consider having an expert come to that scene, maybe process your evidence, but then have an expert at least go and see it themselves and see what additional evidence they can help you identify. So
Right.
it's good to have, if you're a small department or even if you're a big department, have, those experts available or have somebody, on standby that you could, whenever these big cases come up, and they will, have that person available that they can come out and at least take a look. I've done that at scenes too.
Dago, do you still have that photo of Xana's room that you showed earlier with the hair?
I do.
Do you have
I
that
do.
easy to pull up? Would you mind pulling that up real
No.
quick?
I
Because
Not at
love
all.
this question that they have right there too.
oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
was
go
going to
ahead.
ask that too. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Go ahead, read it for me.
Does Jeffrey have the skills and knowledge to create a fake scene that would confuse investigators after the crime?
Hey.
That's my fiance. She knows the answer to that.
I like it. I love it.
I would have a great time confusing investigators, but I'm not that type of guy. So
Right.
Wow.
That'd be like a great escape room
Great
idea.
question, JP. I like that question a lot.
What about that? A blood pattern themed escape room? That'd be
Yeah,
fantastic.
dude.
Oh
That'd
my
be-
gosh,
that'd be
so
hot.
much fun.
Yes. Very
Ooh,
wild.
Yeah,
I
that's
get
a good
sucked
idea.
into those things.
Since you're closer, than us, obviously, to the inside workings of cases and stuff, and this case seemed to have a lot of information. I think it was something around like 58 terabytes or something ridiculous. When a defense attorney gets a file or a bunch of files, what do they have to do with those files, and how long do you think it would take for a defense attorney to go through that much information?
It's difficult, and if a defense attorney doesn't have a giant team to go through all that information, they probably can't go through all of it. And I mean, the information is confusing too. I mean, going through it myself, I mean, there's so many different files, so many different reports, so many different photographs. You don't know the order of these photographs. So even though the defense gets all of this information and all of it's subject to discovery, it's very hard to go through all of that and make sense of it. And I don't know if any defense attorney, unless they have like unlimited budget or unlimited resources, would be able to go through all of that.
Well, she herself claimed she brought an expert in and asked her. It was 51 terabytes, and they told her it would take you 3 years to clearly go through every bit of this, which is insane. And obviously she didn't have that time. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of my information that I have on this case comes from my fiance Amber. She was staying up every night going through all the files. I mean, she would wake me up in the middle of the night and go, Jeff, you got to see this.
Suck you in, man. I tell you that.
So we appreciate her.
That's awesome.
She's right here. She loves this stuff.
It's
And
nice
Aw.
having a partner like
Hi,
that.
Amber.
Yeah.
Please thank her for allowing us to have you tonight as well and take you away
yeah.
from her. We appreciate that very much.
and
It's way
she's
better
actually,
than the
she
other
actually
way.
built my website. So if you like it,
That is-
give her a thumbs up. And
Absolutely.
Tell her to come join us when our shows are on and chat with us in the chat.
Every time, anytime. Please.
yeah, my kids and my mom are actually watching it right now. So
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
glad to have you guys here with us. Absolutely awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, my battery's at like 10%. Oh, wait, here, let me plug this thing in here.
There's your picture, Kim. Is that the right one?
Yes. So this is Xana's room, and something really stands out to me in this photo. So originally the bed is pushed up against the wall right there, and his hand is described as being between the mattress and the wall. Okay. So this is now pulled away, but it doesn't originally look like that. So assuming when he's attacked, he's laying right there next to that wall. And I noticed this pristine white tapestry hanging on the wall. Like, there's bloodstains right next to it. I mean, what are the odds that someone was attacking him right there and there is not one speck on that? So could it happen? I'm sure, but this just stands out to me as very odd and suspicious, and I wanted your thoughts on that.
I mean, so what you're seeing there, the area that's highlighted in those between the tape, those are impact spatter stains. Those are blood stains that are created by force. The ones to the left of that, those are transfers, and they look like they could be from clothing or hair.
Yeah.
Some bloody object.
I didn't understand one thing you said. Can I ask you?
Yes.
So when you say the ones between the highlighted in the middle, are you saying the knife actually went into the wall there?
No. So when the person that is, I mean, I will just say Ethan, when Ethan is there and the bed is against the wall and he's being stabbed, there's blood that is going to be projected out from those wounds because of the force of the knife hitting his body and hitting that blood. And then the other combination is blood that is being projected out of the vessels, whether it be arteries or veins. They're under pressure, so they're going to be projected out onto the wall. And then the areas that are flowing down, that's just because there's a large enough volume of blood to flow down the surface under the influence of gravity.
Okay.
And so all of that is normal. The areas to the left are transfer. That's blood that's on either the suspect or on Ethan that's being transferred to the wall as he's being stabbed. And the explanation as to why there's no blood on the tapestry is just because that's not where the blood got projected, or those impact stains didn't travel far enough to hit that surface. And there was nothing that touched that surface to create transfer stains. So those sheets or the tapestry being clean is not abnormal. I mean, considering the position of the body, the nature of the injuries. Now, if he was beaten to death with a baseball bat, where you might see like a broader impact spatter pattern, then I would say, yeah, that's a little abnormal. Those are completely clean.
Yeah.
Would you want to see, sorry, Dago, would you want to see under that tapestry? Like, do you think there should be a photo with that taken down so we could see under it?
I'd want to see everything. I mean, I would love to have full access to all the scene photographs and diagrams and everything. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely one thing you want to do, is look behind that too, to see if there was, was that curtain up at the time the injury occurred and got put back down. So those are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was stated that Ethan, at the time of the attack, was leaning upward on his right elbow, like kind of cocked upward, sitting upward. You know what I mean by in the bed, leaning up on your elbow, on your right elbow, okay? And then when the attack started, at some point had rolled away from the situation, I'm guessing. So let me ask you something.
Yeah, that's something that I would definitely stay away from answering, unless, again, you have that physical evidence to support that opinion. You can't just make that assumption.
That's my question to you. How would you know that?
That's when people get into trouble, is making those kind of assumptions. So I can't tell you, without seeing the exact injuries, what injuries created those blood patterns on the wall. But, if I actually saw the injuries and I saw where they're at with respect to those blood patterns, I might be able to articulate, what injuries caused.
That's what I didn't understand. I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, how would you know something like unless you were standing there watching the attack happen, or there's a video of it happening? How would you know that he's on his right elbow cocked upward and then moves? Like, that was weird for me to understand. I'll just say it that way.
It's very specific, and it would be really hard to explain that.
And then you label something debris.
As far as the spatter throughout both rooms, it, do you think that the spatter in both rooms looks consistent with being the same weapon, or do you see anything in any area that looks like it might be from a different weapon?
That's a good question. Everything that I saw, I mean, the photos that I had access to, and I'm assuming they're the same ones you guys had access to, could have been created with a knife. I mean, they could be a knife and, maybe a fist. So I didn't see anything that, would definitely stand out as a gunshot wound or a beating with a baseball bat. But then again, there's, if you're shot, and I mean, obviously they would have gunshot wounds. If you're shot, you might get some of the same blood patterns as if you're stabbed, depending on the circumstances where you're injured. So you can have like kind of a, the same blood patterns created if you're injured in different ways. But there are certain things like, for example, we're talking about like a baseball bat injury to where it creates those impact spatter patterns. That's not something you would typically see with a gunshot wound. But everything that I saw could be explained by knife injuries.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Now, would it matter? Are you just saying a knife in general, like a sharp force object, or could it be different, like, a machete and a K-bar or whatever?
Well, a machete is going to create different type of injuries on the body. I mean, those are going to it's a heavier, not as sharp of a weapon. So it's going to create more like almost impact injuries as opposed to like sharp force or stabbing injuries. I mean, it's going to fracture your skull. It's going to break the tissues apart as well as cut them. Whereas like a sharp knife or like a box cutter, those are going to create like incised and cut wounds. Whereas a machete is going to be almost like a combination of a baseball bat and a knife because of the type of injuries and the way that the machetes are typically used.
So could a K-bar create fractures to the skull?
It could, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could. I mean, depending on what part of the knife you're hitting the person with.
Where is ours?
Oh, I have a knife that's very similar to a K-bar, and just looking at it, it's I got it at a yard sale. I did not buy it.
Joey's getting the knife.
Oh, we bring out weapons too to look at, to compare.
But yeah, it's heavy enough. I mean, I feel like if I hit somebody with the base of that thing, I could fracture somebody's skull with that knife.
I don't have a K-bar either, but I usually bring this out because it's what I have,
Yeah, you hit somebody with the bottom of that thing hard enough, you could easily fracture their skull, fracture their nose.
It's pretty heavy. It's brass. This is all brass and bone.
There was a certain way they described her skull injury, though. And did you get to see that?
She had an intracranial fractures as well as other things as well. But that was
intracranial. What does that mean?
Inside the skull or inside the head.
Within the inside of the skull, yeah.
So something punctured deep enough to fracture inside.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can have external injuries that can give you skull fractures.
Good point. Good point. And that's what Farmzilla was asking. Like, do you have any feelings as to what could have been used to do the damage that was done to Kaylee's face? She had teeth knocked out, to make her unrecognizable. So you're believing that it's possible it was done with the hilt of a knife, or could have been done by that?
Not necessarily. I mean, a heavy enough knife like that. I mean, when you're stabbing somebody in the face, it can easily cause fractures and cause multiple different wounds. I've seen stab wounds that look like gunshot wounds. I mean, until the doctor actually gets in there and does their documentation and analysis.
That's
very interesting. Very interesting.
How, in your opinion, would it be considered a leak of information if a retired FBI agent received all of the case files for a case that's still sealed?
Yeah, you're talking about the guy that wrote the book?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And why can't I get access to the case files and all the information? Why can't you guys? I mean, why would anybody be given access to that information? Not even the family has had access to that information. So why would that be given to anybody else? I can't answer that.
An interesting point and question.
part of the
Thank you
wave.
for asking that, Logan. I appreciate that
Yep.
because that's something I've been over the past 48 hours been questioning myself, and I understand. I'm not condemning it
Yeah.
or anything. Are you planning on reading the book, Jeffrey?
Probably.
Probably.
Either that or I'll put it in Chat GPT and have it give me a summary. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. There you go.
You can get the audio book.
There you
No,
go.
I will read it. If I hadn't been doing all these podcasts related to it, and if I hadn't actually talked to the family of the victims, I don't know.
Yeah, that was
investigated,
interesting.
But now I kind of want to know everything. And
Would you like
Agreed.
to touch on that any?
what was that?
Would you like to touch on that any?
Oh, about talking to the family?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
after
didn't know that.
Yeah, after one of
Yeah,
Birdie's
I told y'all.
podcasts,
Jesus.
one of the victims' family reached out to me and just wanted to talk about it and just share kind of their
please.
frustrations with the investigation. And I don't want to in any way offend the families.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
No, of course not. Of course not. No.
my career, taking care of families in situations like this, and so I'd never want to offend anybody. But I think they have kind of the same frustrations and questions that you guys do. Quite
I
honestly,
feel they should. It's
So they
it's
are
crazy.
questioning, and I mean, without going into privacy issues and stuff like
Mhm.
that. At the very least, they are at least questioning at this point a lot. Well, you just said it. A lot of the same things we are. That's
Yeah.
what my question would be.
Yeah.
And as they hit us out here, they think we're doing bad things, but it's like, in all honesty, we're wondering why aren't they questioning?
And I haven't heard you guys say one negative thing about the victims.
You won't.
Mm.
Oh no.
You know,
You won't never. You'll never.
That the case was handled poorly. You guys are just asking questions, and that's normal. I think that asking questions is a good thing, because, like I said, it makes your investigators question what they're doing. It keeps everybody on their toes, keeps everybody honest, really. And
we just want justice for their victims, truly and honestly, and their loved ones, because we see that it just doesn't make sense, Jeffrey. That's the problem. And there's the person that is in prison for the crime. We question that as well. We want to make sure that justice is being served, the Constitution's being abided by, and we just all question it all. Period, in my opinion. So.
yeah.
And I think that a lot of us understand that, investigators and officers are human, just like we are. People are going to make mistakes and not do everything perfect every time. It just seems like in this case, there was a lot of things back to back to back that weren't done, weren't, tested, and that's why we all have questions. And we understand that. I admire the work that you guys do, because at the end of the day, I feel like investigating is kind of like hindsight's 2020. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I admire your guys' work, but I think that's just what everybody has questions in the case. It just seems like the officers in this case did a lot of stuff wrong, or just didn't do it at all.
Did they handle anything how normal investigations are handled? I don't know. But then, with this many questions being asked, is it just because this case was high profile and people are looking at it closer? It makes you wonder, like, are all investigations handled this way? Are there this many questions in every case? And that's a reasonable thing for the public to ask, because I know myself, as just a normal person, I wouldn't want to be railroaded if I wasn't guilty of a crime. So I think great questions everybody's asking.
Speaking of railroading, I think I railroaded Kim. Kim?
What did you do there, Mr. Mike?
What? What's that?
I don't know. I think I railroaded you.
No. You said, I told you guys. And I'm like, what am I? Chopped liver? I don't remember.
No. You were in that freaking Discord voice, man.
Yes.
It was
that was one
late.
of those nights I fell asleep.
Well, I think you were traveling, honestly.
I did have another question I meant to ask you a long time ago, Jeffrey, and I'm so sorry I forgot this, but just real quick, and this is really just an opinion of yours. I'm asking of you. So again, within the book, it was stated in the very beginning of this that we all know the knife sheath and its issues that it has caused within the case. And we saw photographs of the knife sheath sitting on the edge of the bed next to victim number 3, which is Maddie. Within the book, it's stated, I think it's in the prologue or chapter 1, one of the two, but it states that is not where it started, okay? and it's written within Detective Talbot's report at some point that the knife sheath actually was, when it was first found, I guess you could say, it was on the floor next to victim number 3. But when we see it, and the way it was described to us from the beginning was that it's moved 3 times. It's moved 3 times within the reports we've gotten. So
Yeah.
now we're being told it was initially on the floor, but then when we see it, it's right next to Maddie, kind of slid underneath her thigh, which is a very interesting point.
Me and Birdie talked about this in quite detail. And so the knife sheath has impact spatter bloodstains on it. So they're individual little, almost like mist like bloodstains on it.
Yes.
So that would have had to have put it somewhere in close proximity to that assault, because those impact spatter stains aren't going to travel all the way across the room. They're not going to travel from one room to the next. They're going to be close to that assault. So, I mean, you'd obviously want to test those bloodstains to see whose blood is also on that knife sheath. But could those type of bloodstains be on that knife if it was on the ground next to the girls when they were being assaulted? Yes. Could it have been created if it was on the bed next to them? Yes. But what I would look for, and what I could see in some of those photographs, if it's sitting on the bed, where there are also some individual small bloodstains on the bed that would be consistent with what you see on the knife sheath. So that would then make it more possible that it was sitting on the bed, next to them whenever that assault occurred. But I would also look under that knife sheath to see if there was a void of bloodstains under it, just definitively putting it in that place. So there's a lot of things I'd look at in that case.
Well, there's a secondary part to what I was going to tell you, because what I read, and it just clicks and makes sense to me. So here's my problem with this. If this knife sheath was placed early on and during the commission of the crime per se, where there is wet, fresh blood, okay, I would guess that there would be what I would call, and I'm probably wrong, so please correct me if I am. I know I'm more likely going to be drag marks of the sheath being slid underneath her thigh, as compared to if the crime scene had dried, the blood had dried mostly within the sheet area, because there's no drag marks on the sheet that we see. And being put there after the fact is what my question is what it seems to look like. There are no drag marks on the knife sheath, as you've seen. You know what I mean?
So with those little tiny individual bloodstains, they are going to dry rather quickly. So, if, we'd have to do some testing to see exactly how quickly they dry. But, if 5-10 minutes go by and the knife sheath is moved to the bed, you're not necessarily going to see those blood transfers in that case, because that blood would already have been dried. So
I actually got an interesting clip here from what's his name in Birdie, and they actually are talking about this sheath. I can drop it to you, and you're going to start at 7 minutes and like 10 seconds.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Go ahead with what you were to finish, Jeffrey. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, just there should be some evidence of it if it was moved quickly after those bloodstains were deposited. If not, the blood being dry, you could move that knife sheath all over the place, and it's not going to create transfers.
Gotcha. Thank you. Are you dropping it backstage, Mike?
Where do you want it?
Just put it backstage so I can, wherever you put it, I can pull it up that way.
All right. How the fuck do you put shit back here?
You just share it. You go down to the bottom bar, or you can just drop the link in private chat and I'll share it that way, or any way you want it, bud. I'll share it either way. Drop it in Discord, whatever works for you.
Yeah, it's too big for Discord. Hang on.
Okay. How could Maddie be victim 3 and the K-bar knife be the only weapon? The knife had to go back downstairs.
Yeah,
knife. Go ahead.
Victim number 3, are you just saying that's 3 out
He's listed in the report as victim number 3.
Oh, okay. So not necessarily the order that they were.
Right.
Okay.
Probably just the order that they found them. Or
Right. That's my thought too. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Or the Richard. I'm sorry. Good to see you tonight. Okay.
I haven't seen him in a while. I gotta
No.
send it to your email. This shit's too big.
All right then. No worries. Sorry about the delay, everybody. 1 minute here.
It's just adding on to all of these issues that are happening with, it seems like almost everything that we've at least been able to see in this case. Like we just showed you the issue with the numbering on the bag that was holding the knife sheath. And then now it's like we're finding out one response, we can literally see the first two responders going into the room. Well, we don't see them. It's blurred out. And then in their reports, they mentioned nothing about a sheath. So the first two officers who were there mentioned nothing about a sheath. And
It's not in anything.
Then we have a PCA that says it was seen on Maddie's. One officer says left side when viewed from the door. One officer says right side when viewed from the door. And now we have an Idaho State Police officer saying, well, I found it on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
So which one is it?
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. And did their body cam clear that up at all? Like their body cam footage?
It's not on. It's redacted. They redacted it.
We can't see it.
And I guess probably one of them or more probably didn't even have body cams, right? I mean, if
they're so
the
redacted.
person with the Brett Payne that wrote the PCA did not have a body cam.
okay.
No. And neither did very oddly, another issue that come up to it was the prosecutor, his assistant, goes into the house again before the coroner, along with one of the lead detectives. Nobody wore body cams when they did this. So it makes people question things right out of the gate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's not uncommon for the district attorney or the prosecutor or a DA investigator to show up at a crime scene, especially a violent crime like this, because they know that this case is going to go to court, and it's good for them to have actually physically seen the scene, and ideally early on. So that is not an abnormal thing. It does happen.
Gotcha. Did you send that, Mike?
Oh, it's so
Go
big.
look at Lucy's.
It's
Look at
4K,
Lucy's
so it's
comment.
got to go to a freaking Google Drive. I hate this crap.
So-
Where's it from?
Huh?
What is the clip
I
from?
clipped it out of a freaking 3-hour live.
Oh, okay.
Well, he can go to the timestamp. Just tell him the timestamp, and he can pull up the video and share it with us.
Good luck
that.
on that, Chica.
Oh, you don't know what it was.
Can I ask
Hell
a
no.
question real quick?
Go ahead.
So there were in the book, it states that the officers that came into the house commented at one point on the smell of the blood. Wouldn't the roommates also smell that too, which kind of makes everybody question the 8-hour delay? Do you think it would smell?
That's really funny. Me and Amber were actually talking about that quite a bit, about the smell of the blood. And I mean, I've been into scenes where there's just blood wall to wall, and to me, it doesn't really smell like blood. But I've been into other scenes where a small amount of blood's pretty fresh and it smells. So again, I have to go back to that same answer. It possibly, but unlikely that somebody in a different room would smell blood from an adjacent room or a room upstairs, or even down the hallway, even if it is a lot of blood and even if it's fresh. And to me, just what I saw, I mean, the blood in Ethan and Xana's room, I mean, that looked like quite a bit of blood. But when you go to the upstairs room where the girls were killed upstairs, to me, considering there are 2 people stabbed to death and assaulted, it didn't look like an overwhelming amount of blood. And so that again suggests to me that they died rather quickly. They were in that position. They didn't get up. They weren't running around. They weren't moving after the assault.
Would you expect to, when you heard of this case and then you saw the photos, did you initially expect to see more blood in the room?
I did, yeah.
Especially upstairs?
Considering that they were stab wounds and considering that there's people, potentially fighting back, I did expect to see more blood. But, after seeing the injuries and learning more about the case, it is consistent with what is possible in the way they were killed.
Sure.
Yeah, I sent that to you. You should have
I
it.
see it, but it wants me to convert this and do that and download this and download that. I'm trying to get it open
Okay.
now.
What was
What
the
do you
main
guys-
point in it, Mike?
It was
Yeah, what do you
Birdie's
guys-
interview with Chris Whitcomb.
Yeah, and they're going all over the points of the sheath and when the bodies are moving.
Right. But a couple of the things were that I'm looking because people said,
Hold on.
oh, I know one of the things they were discussing is, okay, so the photo we see of the sheath is it's kind of like half on the edge of the bed, half off, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then, so I guess the experts were discussing, or they noticed, that they took all the evidence out of the room, or they had been moving the evidence out. So like the pillows are off the bed, the sheets, the blankets are off the bed, the fitted sheet is still on the mattress.
Yeah.
And the victims are removed. So, but the sheath is still there.
That's exactly
So
what
they're
this
like,
point said.
how do you do all that movement of everything and this sheath is still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like what we talked about with trace evidence and the hair. I mean, if you have what you believe is a multiple stab wound case and you have a knife sheath on scene, that would be a huge piece of evidence. That should be like a huge priority. And so you would expect that that would all be collected and documented long before those bodies are removed or disturbed.
Okay, so I found I have the live and everything set there. Real quick though, if Jesse can ask her question, is that they were not even using the sheath in court. Hitler told the state and the defense to come up with a lie that you both can use to explain away the one thing. And she says, "How come on how you came to Brian as the perpetrator? I'm sorry, is that legal, Jeffrey? Is what she's asking you in your opinion."
To fabricate how they identified somebody as a suspect, would that be legal?
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you're lying, it's not a good thing. I mean, as an investigator or an officer, lying is never acceptable. And so I don't know if that's actually true or if that was actually said.
Oh, he said it. We heard him say it. Yeah, in a hearing, he said, I'm going to need you guys to come together and come up with a story. And somebody can correct me on how it was stated, but if I'm wrong, but to be able to tell and explain the tip is what it was, I believe. Because they had gone through a whole other thing. Pretty much word for word is that's what he said. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see the video and be able to, to give my opinions on it. But
sure,
I just, my thought is maybe they were like frustrated, like, if we don't have this knife sheath, you got to come up with some idea on how, how we apprehended this person. That's kind of my thought process. So maybe it was said
let me correct it. It was that they were using the sheet. They weren't using the IgG. My apologies for misrepresenting it. That's how it was stated. But he still made that whole statement. Yeah. But either way, so where roughly are we needing to be in this video, you guys?
7 minutes, 10 seconds.
Bingo. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And this is the author of the other book?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's got some interesting credentials. He's done some things.
Yeah. He sure does. He sure does. 7 minutes. And what
I'm
was
more interested in his going to being at Ruby Ridge.
And Waco, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the seconds part of it, Mikey? 7 minutes, what?
10 seconds.
All right, got you, buddy.
Yeah,
thank you.
Right.
Right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And how far in do I go, Mike? Just let it go.
Yeah, I think it runs clear to the end. You'll be able to tell.
Oh, okay. 1 minute.
I think there's only like 6 minutes.
Gotcha.
In the hive. And it looks like we are all good. Okay, so Chris, obviously, welcome to the show. If you're not familiar with the hive is known.
This is not the one you sent me. This is the actual interview. That's what I was asking you.
Yeah, so this is exactly why I don't fucking know. It's probably going to be 43 minutes to 56, maybe. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, why am I looking at there's 3 hours and 15 minutes? And I'm like, what did Joey do to me?
Yeah, I can't get that to open. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, because it's 4K, bud.
Yep. Okay, so does this look more like where we're supposed to be?
Back it up a little bit. And a little bit more.
Sorry about this, Jeffrey.
All right, right there. Hit it.
All right.
An issue ever until we start talking about chain of custody and the single most important piece of evidence, in my estimation, in this whole thing, which is the knife sheath, which had the DNA, which is a foundation of one of the 3 pillars of the case. Am I skipping over anything? Are you still with me?
No, I'm completely following you.
Okay, is this too boring or?
No,
I wanna
not
be
at all.
specific.
You are being specific. It's great.
Okay, so the next thing that we look at is you have to remove the victim's bodies, right? I mean, that's common sense. In order to do that, you start altering the crime scene. Anytime you enter a crime scene, you bring something in. It might be DNA, it might be bad breath, it could be anything, but that's the way it is. Every time you leave, you take something out, right? There's always that issue. So law enforcement agencies take precautions to ensure against that. They have procedures, they have vapor barriers like nitrile gloves, they have various rules, they photograph so they can reconstruct this, because when you find a bad guy, you want him to go to prison for life, right? You got to be very careful about it. So they did videos.
You might want to advance
Before and after the evidence collection. They took copious amounts of photographs. What do you see with a knife, and what do you see as problems by the defense? Okay, the first thing he said, and you should bring him on. He's a fascinating, brilliant man.
I spoke with him over this last weekend for about 40 minutes, and we were chatting. And I know he's got a crazy schedule and whatnot, but I do have his number, and we texted a little bit, so we're working on it. Hopefully, maybe. He said no initially. He had to turn it down. He might do one show. I forgot who he said he might go on, but nonetheless, yeah, he very direct, straightforward man. No nonsense.
No nonsense. He makes me look like, you know. I try to be very specific and try to be very.
Do I keep going, Mike, or are we good?
Yeah, you want to go forward.
All right.
That's why when Kim said what she said, I said what I said.
Okay. Up here, let me see.
See that? Did somebody put it up there to take a picture of it? Either way, that should have been documented. Did somebody walk in there and see the bed empty and think, oh,
I can screen share this, right?
It was
What'd you say, bud?
I can screen share this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hang on a second. Let me get this thing up, because this is gonna be way easier, because I got it right here.
Okay. Well, let me move this. Let me take this down then.
Yeah.
All right. All right. My apologies again, Jeffrey. I'm just trying to get it square for you, so it's no nonsense.
And everything that I don't know him at all, but I mean, everything he was saying so far is correct. I mean, about the way that crime scenes are processed and the logic and the thought process and the procedures. I mean, he definitely has a whole lot of experience, and I haven't heard him say anything that's incorrect.
All right. Let me know if there's any weird echoes or anything.
I don't hear anything. You have to turn the audio up, Mike, or on. Sorry. You might have to take it back down and hit that little audio flip switch over there to the right, the bottom. Before you share it, you have to click in the right corner down here. There's a little thing that says audio. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's on.
All right. Go ahead and reshare it.
And I could probably do about another 8 minutes or so. I think we're coming up on 3 hours here.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever.
We can always do another day. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Absolutely, yes, sir. I appreciate that very much. All right, here we go. Go for it, Mikey.
Why don't you just say what you're talking about?
That has sound, no sound. No sound. Sound.
There's no sound. I'm sorry. I was muted.
Technology is great when it works, huh?
Man.
All right.
It is.
So that's turning into a disaster.
Yes.
Yep.
I have a quick question.
We'll save it for next time.
When the officers arrived, it was like initially it seemed like they were trying to make it into a murder self-deletion. Do you see how they tried, like why would they try and do that? It seemed kind of obvious that it wasn't that.
I can't say for sure, but anytime that you have, a lot of victims, especially younger people, you try to come up with some idea of what the heck happened, right? And that might have just been a theory that someone threw out there. Like, is this possible?
It was Officer Nunez initially makes a statement and says, "Oh my God, he took his own life." And the other officer with him says, "How did you get to that?" And he says, I just saw all the blood. That's how that was reported to us."
I think it could be just, like I said, you've never handled something this big. You've never seen something like this before. Could be lack of experience. It could be.
He was 22.
Yes.
Well, yeah, he was 22. But the other thing they threw in there was that he was a previous EMT from the local fire department, which was kind of a,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is funny how they
Yeah,
shuffle people into these positions.
I've had plenty of cases where I get a phone call and somebody tells me that something is one thing, and by the time I get out there, I see something that explains something completely different, and so the investigation takes a completely different turn. So, I mean, I see how that could happen, especially
Absolutely.
or seeing something you've never seen before.
Right.
Should they make those statements? Probably not, because it does create bias, but it is normal for investigators, officers, people that are investigating these cases to have discussions that aren't necessarily official discussions. You're just like, oh man, it could be this, it could be that. And so I think that's pretty normal.
Gotcha.
Before you leave us, can you tell us, and you obviously you can't say names or things like that. I don't even know if you can tell us this at all, but like the craziest thing that you've worked or seen, or just something juicy.
Oh, I feel like I've seen everything. I can't talk specifically about my cases, just, out of respect for the families. But if you want to ask me if I've ever seen it, I'll say yes or no.
Have you ever seen anything comparable to this? So, quad homicide with as much of, bladed weapons and stuff like that.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I've had tons of multiple victim cases, whether it be homicides or traffic accidents or, injuries, shootings. But this is pretty unique. This is pretty rare. I mean, typically one person cannot take out 4 people with a knife. That is very difficult to do, but it was the perfect set of circumstances, right? All these people are in separate rooms. It's late at night. They're asleep. I mean, I guess, the best comparison is the Ted Bundy case where he went into the sorority house. I mean, nobody would expect that to happen. I mean, how did those other people in the sorority house not wake up when Ted Bundy is beating somebody to death with a log in the next room?
Right.
So, I mean, you got to think about it in that perspective. And then how does that person get away and then remain, unable to be captured for weeks or months after an assault like that, even though they know who did it? So that's the way I look at it. Is, although it is very abnormal, it is possible.
Thank you very much, sir. Very much.
I would love, as my final question and statement, if we could have you back on again in the future, if you have a chance, maybe to, I don't know if you need to or not, but to discuss the sleeping theory, and if maybe if there's anything out there that you can look at that maybe we've mentioned, or anything further, if there's any evidence in this case that might make you look at that differently. I'd like to discuss that again in the future.
If you can, just send me your questions, things that you would like me to look into in more detail, and I would love to. Amber loves researching, so she's my go-to when it comes to the research, and then we just have our discussions while we're doing our gardening. And
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Great team.
So I am
Very
a
much
normal person. I am, I'm just like you guys. I'm just like your viewers. I just have a different set of experiences and a different set of education. Doesn't make me any better or any worse.
But if I go missing,
we know.
We know.
We got you, girl.
But if she does, she won't be found at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, but
You know how to look for the clues.
I have my own blood in my refrigerator, so she knows she knew what she was getting into.
Can you look at Sausage's whatchamacallit in chat there, please?
1 minute. which
She sent
one.
a super chat or something.
I'm trying to
He
find
probably
it.
wants
Give me
us to
one
let him
second.
go pretty soon too.
Yeah, we're
I'm
ending
sure.
this with him with his end of it at least. It's a super chat. You said
Yeah.
in the chat. How far back is it?
I didn't see a super chat.
I don't see one, Mike.
She said, will you make it back around to the super chat question I asked real quick, please? Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Let me go
I
down.
thought we did ask hers.
Maybe
I
this
thought
is
I
what
did
Fizzy's
too.
sending me.
Is it about this one? The amino black test is positive. That one, or if there's another one, because I know I asked that one. Forensic techniques should be used to determine the perpetrator had cleaned the scene. Is that one sausage, or because I thought we asked that too?
Yeah, because he mentioned with the mop and it was
Yeah,
all on the back of the door and it lit up.
There would
Yeah,
be
there-
evidence of
there
that.
would be evidence,
So
and-
there would be
Right.
clear evidence.
And if
That's
you're
all.
one of the classes that I have online is specifically about bloodstain pattern analysis. So if people are interested in learning how these blood patterns are analyzed and looked at and created, my class goes over all that stuff, and you can find that on on my website. And
Okay, so
it
that
comes
was
with
the one.
my book. So
I did
All
check
right.
out his website and it's very user friendly. So if you
Yeah.
guys want to check it out, I
Very,
have the
very.
link. Yeah.
Very much, Mikey. Any last thoughts, feelings, questions, opinions?
Nope.
for-
Just want to say thanks, Jeffrey,
Absolutely.
for joining us. And
so you guys are great, and I'd love to schedule something with you guys again. And I mean, even if it's not talking about this case, I love going over any crime case.
Yes,
I think it's important
absolutely.
to view these things, especially these big cases where there's a lot of questions.
100%.
Thank you for all
Miss,
that you do.
yes, Miss Logan. Any last questions, thoughts, feelings for Jeffrey?
I just want to thank you for coming on the panel, spending your time with us, and thank you for all that you do in the real world and your integrity.
Thank you. You're very welcome, and I'm happy to do this. I love educating the public and officers, crime scene technicians, anybody that I can, anybody that'll listen to me. I love educating everyone.
You definitely have an audience here with all of us. I'm sure you realize that at this point. Before you go, do you have any questions, thoughts, or feelings for us, Jeffrey?
No, I think it's great what you guys are doing. I mean, I know that people that ask these type of questions, or they call them conspiracy theorists, or it gets kind of a negative connotation, but I really feel like it's just asking the appropriate questions that need to be answered. And as a defense attorney and prosecutor, they should really pay attention to the questions you guys ask, because those are the things that they're going to have to combat when they go to court, and they're going to be trying to convince a jury of guilty or innocence. And these are the type of questions that are going to be asked, and if you can't explain them, your case has a problem. So I think what you guys are doing is great.
Well, I promise you we appreciate that very much, and you as well. And as far as I'm concerned, sir, I just want to let you know how much we appreciated this tonight, as much as I can say it again and again. Again, thank you to Amber for allowing us to have you for so long. We do
Yes.
appreciate
Yes.
that, and her. I'm looking forward to picking up my action figure from you, or multiple. We'll see what happens there, but I'm excited about that as well, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get to do this with you, sir. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your night. Be safe out there. It's a dangerous world, sir. And
I forgot to mention it, but we'll
Yeah.
create. Me and Amber will create a
Coupon code.
coupon code for the website. It'll be DAGO, and so that's gonna be our
nice.
coupon code. So any of your listeners, or if you guys want to buy anything on the website, or purchase a class, or purchase the books, we'll create that coupon code right now. It's gonna be
Thank
DAGO.
you.
So and just a quick question. So this is streaming to 2 other channels. So the girls can use the same. You want them to use the same for theirs,
I
Yep,
just
everybody-
put the same thing in there. Yeah.
or no?
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
no, I meant the
It's
codes
just the
for the
code,
discount.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can all just use Dago.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think we created one last time for Birdie. It was the bird. So,
Okay. Cool.
and
Well, that'll work on all the channels for everybody then. That's awesome. And we appreciate that very much. And I will run before we shut down for the night completely the link for your website one more time. And again, we all appreciate you so very much.
thank you so
and
much.
keep up the great work, and thank you for doing what you do, sir. We do appreciate that you do it the right way, the best way, and the honest way. So
You're very
have a
welcome.
great night, Jeffrey. Take
Thank
care.
you for having me.
Yes,
you,
sir.
brother.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wow, that was awesome. That was
Amazing.
absolutely
That was so
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
good.
amazing.
I mean, every guest we've had, you guys, has been awesome, but this thus far, I'm telling you, has been amazing. I learned so much tonight. I'm grateful, beyond grateful to him. So once again, everybody can thank Mike for setting this up, because he is
Oh, it's all
the
good.
man.
Works out.
I know he gets all embarrassed when I do that, but I can't help it. He's
Oh.
got to credit is due. Credit needs to be where credit's
You're
due.
welcome.
Period.
It's no problem.
We appreciate you, brother.
It goes with the flow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So great show, you guys. Seriously, amazing stuff. I learned so much. I can't even absorb everything. I'm grateful. I can't
Yeah.
wait to get these action figure things either. That's my thing.
He has hit the right community for this. Like, we're always
Mhm.
searching
Yeah.
for resources to learn, like, about all this death investigation. So yeah.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back. I gotta.
Yeah.
My eyes are swimming. I'll be right back.
I think Bronx's eyes are swimming too.
Yeah, he's got to go out. I've got to go soon.
Bronx's eyes are swimming.
He's like,
Uh,
come on, Mom. That'd
yeah.
be sweet if you hit the button. Outside. Outside.
If I leave him long enough, he might hit it.
Mm.
Yesterday, he would not hit anything for anything. I'm like,
No.
just hit the button and tell me.
Would you keep him up too late?
Yeah.
See?
Oh,
Now he's trashing things.
he's
Your
coughing.
lips have stayed in sync the whole night.
I know. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it'll just work out.
I think I just have to put it on high def
Oh,
because I didn't have it on high def.
yeah.
At least I
4K.
know now. So it works.
At least I know I can't say send.
Oh, with your
video.
microphone?
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I ended up today messing with everything, the camera, the internet, just everything, and it wasn't working. So I changed it to high definition instead of 780 for StreamYard, and it just worked.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was driving me nuts. I called StreamYard and everything.
You actually got a live
couldn't
person at
keep up.
StreamYard?
No, I did not.
I was
But I
gonna
called.
say, how'd you do that? I can't ever do that.
She was going, operator. No, representative.
Oh my god! Remember
Yeah, I
when you
was
could
gonna
dial the
tell you,
operator?
I was gonna tell you, Logan, you stayed that way the whole time. So
Yeah.
whatever you did was perfect. So
But
keep it.
for what you're
keep it.
paying, that freaking upload speed is nasty.
Yeah.
Like not good. Like mine is 500 and yours is 5.9.
Wild. That is wild.
And that's not meters to feet kind of thing. Anyways,
People are asking what mic you use.
It's
Ooh.
actually linked in. I link it everything I use in my description box.
Oh, okay.
look at him.
But
Yep.
I think
Yep.
I just got it on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
Like I think color light up mic or something.
Oh, I had I had one of those for a little while. It didn't work well for me for some reason. I can't remember the name of it though.
I have another one actually. I have a Logitech or whatever it is.
Logitech, yeah.
Logitech.
It's brand new. I haven't used it yet.
It's a
The
Logan Tech.
Logan Tech.
Logi.
Yeah.
I know.
All right,
Great,
Bronxy's
great.
got to take a leak.
Yeah. So thank you, Ms. Logan. Appreciate. Are you taking off to take
I have
him out?
to go. Yeah. I
Bronx is taking off.
Yeah, I
He's
hear
taking
him
off.
back there. I see him. Well, thank you. Great show, Miss Logan. Miss Kim. Amazing stuff. Mikey, thank you again, brother, for
No
making
problem.
this happen.
Anytime.
Thank you guys.
Yes, I can't
Oh.
wait for the next time we can get with him, because at that point,
Yeah.
I have a big feeling there's going to be some big stuff to talk about then. What are you saying, Mike?
Yeah.
What you got?
Oh, just don't forget to put up his stuff. And then next
Yeah.
week we got Andrew Myers.
Andrew Myers next Saturday, folks. Another great show, especially now with all this coming down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do want to make sure everybody sees this here. If you got the camera, whatever that thing is that you scan this with, check that out. Go to his website. Evidence over assumption. Jeffrey Gentry, certified bloodstain pattern and analyst. I'm sorry. And this has everything on it. Logan, you said this is very user friendly, correct?
Yeah, I was on it for quite a bit today. So yeah, it's really user friendly, very short and sweet, great explanations on there. Yeah, it's very user friendly.
Awesome. So go check that out. We will drop the link in the chat one more time, moderators, if you will. And thank you guys all so very much for joining us tonight. You guys are absolutely amazing. Logan, any last words for the peeps in here?
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and all of your questions were absolutely great. Thank you to the panel for having me, and do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your animals. And thank you everybody who sent donations today so we can get some of these other FOIAs. Hoping to have the 2 FOIAs that we did pay for already. I'm hoping to have them this week.
That's like some Bob Barker shit right there.
We are definitely
Spay and
hoping
neuter
for
your
that
pets,
too.
folks.
Yes. And make sure you give Bronx a huge hug for us for making him wait. Any last words, Mikey?
Spay and neuter your pets, folks.
Spay and neuter your kids, folks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
There you go.
That.
And of course, Miss Kim with Typically Unique. What are your last words for everybody, dear?
I just appreciate everybody who joined us tonight. Your comments and questions were amazing.
Yes.
It just shows how much we all are following this case and know about it. That was amazing. Thank you for the super chats that I got tonight. Jen, I don't think I got to say thank you, so I appreciate that. Yeah. Have a great night, everybody. Make sure you hit the like button for all the whatever creator's channel you're in, please.
Yes, please do that. Please, folks. Every one of you guys is so very much appreciated. Love to each and every one of you. We truly do appreciate and love you all. Thank you to all of the amazing moderators for all you do. Again, thank you to my production manager, Mike, for making this happen. Thank you to all of you for supporting us and keeping our channels going day after day. Any super chats or anything that were sent to me, God bless and thank you so very much. So very generous. I do appreciate it so very much. More than you guys know, I'm looking forward to the next Saturday show already. I cannot wait. And with that, everybody, as always,
the verdict is in.
And you all have an amazing night. And I will see you guys next time.
Good night, everybody.
See
Good
ya.
night.
Bye.
Thanks for coming through to the verdict room where we're seeking truth. Yeah, we're seeking truth. Hey. Last 24, they rewind it. True crime heads go find it. Breaking every angle, every track. Bronx telling tales, keeps us on track. Typically unique, never act. Being real, being sharp, being exact. Exposing every secret in the dark. Every little timeline, every mark. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth. Looking for answers, bringing the facts to you. They break it all down. That day goes cafe seats, working together, throwing revelations at your feet. Oh.
Crime scene chart, they erase that. Put the story back, then replace facts. Looking for the motive in the cracks. Red yarn on the board, then it snaps. Voices in my ear through the week till they hit play. Then we speak. Files on the table, case on the line. They don't just tell it, they define.
Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth. Looking for answers, bringing the facts to you. They break it all down. That day goes cafe seats, working together, throwing revelations at your feet. From the Bronx to the world, let it ring. Every missing little detail that they bring. Dropping that gavel when they're done with the beat. Thanks for tapping happening. See you next week. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, looking for answers.